Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS. Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS.
The World Center of Racing is far and away the stage for racing, real or sim. It's practically in the name. This season, the NARL GT3 GT3 series closes their Season 4 chapter at this epic motorsport battleground, and we have two fantastic points battles to boot, one in the Pro category and one in the AM category, which is up first this evening at Daytona. Welcome to Pit Stop TV. I'm Andrew Carnell the fourth with Emerson Arden alongside. It's round 8 of 8. Finally, we are here, Daytona Beach, Florida. You can see the curbing there in the bus stop. Here's a whole wide shot of the racetrack. I can't think of many better places to go, usually I would say for a season opener, but Daytona works as an epic season finale as well. If you're not going to open the season with it, you may as well close the season here in Daytona Beach. A fantastic racetrack, whether you're on the oval, the round the cross course, or this fantastic road course, and of course, just hosted the Rolex 24. There's always good reasons to go to Daytona, no matter the occasion. And Emerson, tonight we are closing one epic, and I mean epic season here. Season 4 for NARL may be the best ever.
Absolutely, Andrew. It has been fantastic racing week in and week out. I know last week we weren't even on the air with Brands Hatch, but that was a very fun race. Probably one of the most cleanest races on the season, but the racing action was still aplenty there at Brands Hatch. And we've got an amazing championship battle coming to a close tonight in all 3 categories. And I just can't wait. Daytona International Speedway and its road course has been on the minds of sim racers aplenty the past month. And well, here we get to take a look at the track map that I'm sure is stuck in everyone's minds as of recently. And it's a fantastic course, a bunch of medium speed corners. I think that can really challenge the grips of cars. Heavy braking zones like 1 and the Lamar chicane. And turn 6 is always a trouble spot we look out for. But it's gonna be a fantastic night.
Yeah, and if you're going to come to Daytona in the beginning of the year, right, it makes sense to get real close to, the 24 that was just a couple of weeks ago, not only here in iRacing, but in the real world. And yeah, plenty of opportunities to pass, opportunities to race side by side. We're going to see a good round of racing this evening. Let's talk about those points, though. Let's waste no time here. The amateur category on screen. Matthew O'Leary, John Kroom, Bradley Alvis, and Brent King-Gott all have a shot. This is about as wide open as we've ever seen this amateur category, and it's always, I think, the best points battle that we end up seeing at the end of 8 races. We've got a lot to talk about between those 4 drivers, and you know what, Emerson? Even Aubrey Kundle and Logan Boone are not eliminated yet. They have a chance as we get ready for round 8.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're within 1 race points, theoretically, you have a chance. You have a sniff of it. But John Kroom, they're second in points, -2 back. He's had an absolutely stellar past couple weeks. And I'm sure he's just really eyeing the opportunity he has tonight here at Daytona. We've seen kind of the rise and fall throughout most of these point leaders throughout the season, and we're all gonna see how it shakes out tonight.
Here's a look at John Kroom, now behind the wheel of a McLaren. I know he ran this car last week at Brands Hatch. Of course, unfortunately, we had to miss that broadcast due to, very unexpected circumstances. But glad we're here this evening, and glad we're able to see this McLaren do some work for Rockefeller Racing. Other drivers we want to talk about, of course, in this amateur category, just right back to that points battle. Well, John Kroom now 2 points back of Matthew O'Leary. I'm kind of surprised, actually, that O'Leary was able to grab that points lead away from King-Gott and everybody else, but it makes sense. Kroom was having to come from behind, did so finally, but still has to get by 1 more car, and it's car 18. So M Squad technically controls this championship right now, and it's all at the hands of Matthew O'Leary behind the wheel of this McLaren MB430. Let's not skip over Bradley Alvis, though. He is definitely going to be a driver we have to watch this evening as well. Got to find him here in the listing. Car 296 for Shut Up and Drive. A beautiful purple BMW here. I really like that color. And, well, he's right in the thick of things. I mean, 4 points back. It's hard to bet against him.
Absolutely. I believe he started the season up at the top of the point standings, had a great run up until the middle of the season, had a couple incidents that kind of shook up the middle portion of the season, but he still very much kept his chances alive. Right now, up in the top 4 in points. I believe only 6 points out of that top spot, and can just have or is looking for just about anything to go his way tonight, because he's very much there in the thick of it.
Now, Brent Kincott is the final driver that is in this category, that is in this real battle for the championship as Kroom goes fastest so far. More times will pour in. Here's a look at Brent Kincott in his Audi R8. So you've got two McLarens, a BMW, and an Audi in this championship battle this evening. Kincott is going to go fourth quick as Matthew O'Leary, one of those drivers we're talking about, goes to the top of the board, and John Kroom will go third. It looks like no time yet for Alvis. We'll wait to see exactly where he goes in this qualifying battle. But here's the graphic for Kincott, bottom right of the screen. Nearly a half second off. He's only fourth. That's big.
Yeah, I guess what he's got going for him, right, is just how much of a draft track this is, right? The oval provides a lot of very close racing, and as long as you're within a decent amount of slipstream range coming out of turn 6 on that open lap, you should be well within your rights to stay up in that lead battle, give yourself a chance to keep pace with the front runners.
There's an onboard of John Kroom headed in the back straightaway towards the bus stop chicane. Hard in the braking zone, up and over the curbing. And these guys did just run the Daytona 24 here, Emerson, but the McLaren is not one of the cars they could have run if they ran in GTD. So kind of interesting that we see this McLaren category, or the category, McLaren car choice persisting at the top of the field.
Well, Andrew, I think a lot of it is, right, the top speed of it, and the oval here at Daytona can provide a lot of opportunities to said McLarens. Now, I was also thinking about that, right? You only had a certain selection of these GT3 cars you could choose for Daytona. So yeah, a lot of drivers not opting for that familiarity, but I'm sure being it's the season finale, and being that most of these drivers may have ran the McLaren at least a couple times throughout the season, they'll take their chances with the car they've at least been able to run in a couple points races.
Kincott just got much faster. He's 8 points back of Matthew O'Leary coming into tonight, but he picked up a lot of time right there, moves in front of John Kroom in qualifying, and one step closer to pole position, which would be big for him. In the midst of all this is Milan Harris, teammate to John Kroom in that Rockefeller Racing number 69. A lot of McLarens out front, it seems like. How about Kyle Petit? He is in a Mercedes tonight from Rockefeller Racing. Aaron Beaver this evening from Aerokinetics. He's also in a Mercedes, and he is doing fantastic in this qualifying session. Karim Hussein, he's in a McLaren from SimCity Racing. Scott Angelo in a McLaren from M Squad. Sonny Brown in a Porsche. How about that? A Porsche in the top 10. John Sedlak will like the sight of that. As well as Avon Dorsey. 2 Porsches in the top 10. John Sedlak, get excited.
Absolutely. And again, I have a feeling, Andrew, with how competitive this series has been this season, I think we've kind of just made the recipe for a very competitive and chaotic race today. And I mean, being 10th, that could almost mean just about anything. You may have that chance to really improve upon that position, especially here if you play your cards right in the opening laps.
Look there at David Stevenson, one of the few M Squad drivers opting for anything other than a McLaren. Here's the onboard back with Matthew O'Leary as he exits oval turn 4. And it looks like he's going to go down to the inside and pit here. Practicing that pit entry, and that was definitely too fast. Well, actually, he might have gotten right down to the speed limit, so props to him for learning that. I think he's got it down better than I do, surely, as Brent Kincott completes one more lap, but goes no faster and completes his qualifying run. John Kroom, by the way, in the pit lane. It looks like he is done qualifying for the evening. I'm kind of surprised by that, actually. Really surprised, honestly. Here's Aubrey Kundle, car 653 from the Wrong Stuff Racing team. And as he works through, it looks like the West Horseshoe. 7, nearly 8 tenths off of pole. Billy Bowerman in car 102. He rides in the 20th spot. Joe Nagy, 22nd in qualifying so far. Dominic Angelicchio in 24th in his Audi. Michael Pusick in the pit lane. Chris Winstone in his Ferrari is 26th. Kenneth Michael is 27th. He completes the lap. Does he go any faster? The answer is no. Adam Ballard, though, jumps up a couple of spots to 26th position as everybody gets their final opportunity to qualify in. And Emerson, here is your slowest qualifier of the night so far, William Valdez. But if he's able to do something here out of the final corner, he could go sailing up the speed charts. We'll see for William Valdez up out of oval turn 4 to the start-finish line, and he does go much quicker, picking up over a tenth, but is it enough for much of anything? The answer is no, actually. He will stay behind Armando Bejeron, but gets much closer to Bejeron and the rest of the 36 cars in front of him, so I think he's much better set up now for the start of this race for sure. So far, 2 cars opting not to qualify. Those are Robert Guadagnoli and Joshua Lyon. Kundl just went a whole bunch faster. Zach Rosar will come into the pit lane, it looks like, end his qualifying run. Don Gottlieb, though, comes across, and he ends it as well. Brett DiGiacomo will end his run here.
There it is for Brett.
And it looks like the final car to finish up his qualifying run, Philip Bederka, car 70 from Move Over Racing. And he should make it to the stripe before time runs out. But while he does that, how about the weather conditions for this race, Emerson? Decently cool, not too warm, really pretty mild. 73.8 degrees in the air, 75 on track, and, well, being that we are in the evening, we're only going to cool down from here. So I expect some cooler temperatures and track temps as, well, these tires are going to take a little more effort to actually break in and warm up as well. So that's something to talk about for these drivers over the course of especially that pro race here in about an hour's time.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, 75 degrees track time, being that we're still in February in sim, it's going to be relatively similar to what drivers had in the 24. The cool track temps. It's going to offer a lot of grip, but is going to, as you said, be very difficult to get those tires warmed up. May take 2 to 3 laps.
We have a 39-car field ready to go for us this evening. Milan Harris and Matthew O'Leary on the front row for it all. Let's go down the full starting order for the final round of the season. First up, the amateur class. Matthew O'Leary on pole from M Squad, and definitely in a good position to try and keep this championship lead. He's only got a 2-point lead over John Kroom, but it's immediately going to grow when they take the green flag live on track. Milan Harris will start from second, teammate to John Kroom, who's only 2 points back. Brent Kingcott, who is 8 points back of your championship leader, will start from third. Ricardo Delgado plays spoiler, if I can get these words out, will play spoiler here in the top 5, starting fourth. John Kroom will start from the 5th position. Kyle Patsy from 6th. Aaron Beaver from Aerokinetics, he will start from 7th. Karim Hussein from SimCity Racing will start from 8th position. Dominic Turcotte in a Mercedes will start from 9th, and Scott Angelo in his McLaren will start from 10th.
P11, you'll find a 115 of Sonny Brown. Avon Dorsey will be there in the 12th position to round out row 6. Zach Rosar and Bradley Alvis, 13th and 14th, respectively. And back to row number 8, it'll be Aubrey Kundl and Mike Braun. Row number 9, we'll find David Stevenson and Stephen Finch. And to round out the top 20, it'll be Ilya Speaker and Billy Bowerman.
Starting 21st, Bill Pisek in car 41. 22nd, it's Joe Nagy in car 777. Starting from 23rd, you'll find Mark Scott. 24th, Dominic Angelichio. The rest of your top 30 looks like this. It's Michael Pusick, Adam Ballard, Chris Winstone, Kenneth Michael, and finally, Don Gottlieb and Kerry Corcoran.
31st, you'll find Sean Patterson and Brett DiGiacomo. 33rd, it'll be Philip Bederka, and to his outside will be Nicholas Sykes. 35th will be Corey Groves, and Armando Bejeron starts 36th. 37th will be William Valdez, Joshua Lyon, and to round out our 39-car grid this evening will be Robert Guadagnoli in the number 64 machine.
39 cars ready to go racing. It's a 40-minute amateur race, and we're so glad you're joining us here on Pit Stop TV for the final entry in season number 4 for the North American Racing League GT3 category. Into the restart zone, Matthew O'Leary. Not really a restart zone here for the road course, but Matthew O'Leary gets this race underway nonetheless. We are officially racing from the high banks of Daytona. through the King for the first time. Look at this high-speed section of racetrack right down by the speed. Oh, Avon Dorsey a little out wide. It looks like the cars are going to come right at the camera there, but thankfully everybody keeping it on the blacktop for now. One car out wide. That was a Mercedes. Everybody, though, keeping things cleaned out of turn 6 for the first time. Boy, is this always so exciting.
Absolutely. Very, very packed up here. We get onto the oval for the first time today in this race. This is really going to promote a lot of aggressive moves.
One car around, two cars around, three cars around.
4 cars around.
You've got to spin, you get a spin, you get a spin, and everybody going to try and recollect themselves, I suppose, as we work onto the back straightaway and into the bus stop now. Off the Daytona super stretch, a couple of cars blocking, but everybody playing relatively nicely into the bus stop for lap 1. Oh, there's some contact. That was Ilya Speaker and one other car. I'm not sure which Aerokinetics entry it was, but it was one of the Aerokinetics cars, and Ilya Speaker has gone for a spin. Scott Angelo also around.
Angelo was a little up the running order. He had a moment and absolutely destroyed, I believe, the right front of his machine. And a very chaotic opening lap. There was even a little bit of contact down in the first international horseshoe. We got maybe 3 wide here into turn 1.
Including one of our championship competitors in the Shut Up and Drive It entry of Bradley Alvis, as he goes by Aaron Beaver and Sonny Brown. And now Sonny Brown going to have to deal with Aubrey Kundal as they work up to the International Horseshoe for the second time. Up front, it is all Matthew O'Leary ahead of Milan Harris, Brent Kingcott, Ricardo Delgado, and John Kroom. They all kind of worked into their own positions from the start of the race. Not much passing in this top 5, but now Milan Harris has a chance to go to work. And Emerson, he's going to play a very important role in this race. Milan has got to go to bat for his teammate. He has got to challenge Matthew O'Leary at all costs as much as possible and wear that 18 car out.
Absolutely. And you can bet he's going to try his hardest to do so, playing a great team strategy at Spa. And then, of course, Sean Kroom just doing his own thing last week at Brands Hatch. But Milan Harris, you're right, has to get to Matthew O'Leary, try to slow the pace down a little bit, allow Kroom to get up to grips with his car, try to get some speed out of that 455 machine and join this battle at the front of the field.
Already fuel saving down to the bus stop as well. You heard it there from Milan Harris on board the number 69. And if you're John Kroom, man, you have got to find some spots. Got to find some quick time. He's already nearly a second back of Delgado, and that gap is growing on the high banks. That is troublesome for car 455. He's not going to find something in the pit lane to get him those spots back. Man, that is really going to make things difficult as Brent Kingcott still has the draft of the leaders. He brings Delgado up, and Delgado's going to try and go around the outside.
And goes fastest right there in that number 3 machine, but he gets overtaken there by Kingcott.
Some cars out on lap 1 include Philip Bedurka, Chris Winstone, Scott Angelo. Winstone now getting back on track, as is Angelo. Lyon took a lot of damage, it looks like. But we're watching these battles up front. Delgado had a chance that time at a turn 1 on Kingcott, but I'm not sure if he's aware of the situation, but does not try to make that pass, as Kundal now is sideways out of the International Horseshoe and gets absolutely clobbered by one car. I think that was Adam Ballard.
Ballard's front end has fallen off the car, and Kundal was there for the longest time. It was honestly amazing that he didn't get hit sooner.
But also kind of amazing that he got hit that late. Here's a look at it.
Yeah.
Kundal racing with Sonny Brown in that all-white Porsche. Now Mark Scott has got trouble. Sonny Brown to the inside here into the horseshoe. And on exit, they just kind of meet in the middle. Really nothing anybody did wrong. Then gets really turned around there by another car. And along comes Adam Ballard at some point. Oh, man. I mean, that is so late. And that really ends up destroying Kundal's machine.
Yeah, then it was down the other horseshoe where Mark Scott had his problems. There was a lot going on here. And the racing, it's still very packed up, very tight. That's what's going to happen. You try to get a little bit too much in these braking zones, especially as the tires are still trying to find some temp here.
So Scott is the car that actually passed Adam Ballard, and you'll see that impact right there. That's how much closer can you get? And then you have this issue for Mark Scott down here in the Also, Mark Scott over Aerokinetics now. I'm surprised I had missed that move, but yeah, Mark Scott ends up running the back of a BMW and gets turned around. I was very much caught off guard by the fact that Mark Scott is now in that McLaren for Aerokinetics, and he clips, it looks like, I'm not sure who that was. I think that might have been Armando Bejeron or somebody else. I know we saw him in qualifying, but anyways, we continue on. Up front, nothing really changing, as now Armando Bejeron has turned around into turn 1, but he will rejoin safely and continue on.
Well, the chaos has been very much alive here at Daytona, kind of just as expected.
No chaos, though, for race leader and championship leader. 33.5 minutes away from a championship for M Squad in the North American Racing League. Do you think he can wrap this one up?
At the moment, you know, he looks very much in control of this race. If he even feels a little bit of pressure from Milan Harris, Milan is not directly in that championship fight. It's more indirectly if he would be able to get Kroom back in it. So O'Leary, even if he feels pressure, could think big picture here, maybe let Milan go by, maybe even do a little fuel saving with Milan, because they do have a little bit of a gap now over Brett Kingcott and Delgado behind as well.
Yeah, well, Milan Harris just sat right behind him that time, had a chance. He has multiple chances here to pass and does not take them. Milan is not only racing for himself, but as we've mentioned, is racing to try and help his teammate in John Kroom. And, you know, we saw that, I think, perfectly at Spa for round 6, where he actually allowed John Kroom to win that race for some extra points, and it's brought him into this championship fight. So that was a huge, huge move from Milan Harris to give him those extra points. So Milan plays a very, very important role in this race, and right now it is keeping pressure on O'Leary to make sure he stays honest, but also not passing him, not overtaking the 18 car, and making sure that he cannot save any extra fuel by virtue of drafting from a Rockefeller Racing McLaren. That would be absolutely detrimental to the effort for John Kroom and company. And it's worth mentioning as well, Brent Kingcott overtaken by Ricardo Delgado. They are backing up from the race leaders.
I was going to say, Andrew, they lost a little bit of touch, not that much. They're still very much... well, I guess they just did fall out of draft range. But John Kroom has caught this battle as a result. And remember, he was about to lose the draft from these two. So Delgado and Kingcott battling has brought Kroom back into the battle for that 3rd position.
Into the bus stop here, all 3 cars, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And they're not too far removed from Kyle Patty, Dominic Turcotte, Karim Hussein, and everybody else in the top 10. Even Avon Dorsey and Bradley Alvis hanging on to some pretty good spots. Alvis, though, I mean, quite frankly, with where he started in this race, he needs a miracle if he wants to win this championship. You simply cannot do it if you're not even in the top 5.
Certainly, I mean, that is where the rest of this competition is. He's got to get a move on here. And how about this? This would be the pass for 9th on Avon Dorsey. He's ahead at the stripe. Can he outbrake him into 1 on that outside lane?
Pass
and
made.
he'll do so.
Oh, we got a car around up here. John Kroom!
Oh, no.
Along with Turcotte, and eclipse Avon Dorsey, and we're still crashing. Oh, my goodness. We're not done. Now I think we might finally be done, and John Kroom is out of the championship fight this season of the North American Racing League.
That's terrible.
Sigh of disbelief, not only for us, but I think for him as well. I can only imagine.
He was really putting on the rally here in the past few weeks. It was looking pretty bright for Kroom up until about that point.
Up until right here, you can see Kingcott and Delgado side by side out front, but it is John Kroom that controls his own destiny here, clips the grass, goes for a spin, collects 2 Mercedes at once, and just keeps rolling in disbelief. And I can certainly understand the disbelief in keeping it rolling, but that did also impact another championship competitor in Bradley Alvis.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you know, from a professional view, he should have felt the brakes after that spin.
But it's so hard to say that when you consider the impact, yeah.
Right. As a driver, I would almost probably do the same thing. That is crazy, because You do this over and over again, Andrew. You practice turn 1. I mean, all these turns so much, and you get as close as you can to the grass. Just that little much. You're in that race scenario. You lose that little bit of, perfecting the apex, and you get a little too much, and that was it for John Kroom.
Well, Bradley Elvis has left that one in the dust. Is now position number 7, so he's moved up a good bit.
Oh no.
We've just had a massive crash, it looks like, for Mike Braun, and yeah, we are stopped here into turn 1. Cars still coming by, and more cars coming by, but, oh, Braun, yeah, he's done. Rosar with him, it looks like.
Yeah, Mike Braun had a meeting with that pit attenuator down there.
So, some big moments suddenly down in turn 1. Let's check this out from Mike Braun and Zach Rosar. Thankfully, this one not connected to the championship in any way. But unfortunate nonetheless, as here's a look at it. Oh my goodness, wow.
And I couldn't tell if there was contact there between him and I believe it was Zach Rosar he was racing.
Yeah, we'll check this out one more time.
They were going at it very hard there.
So check it out from this angle. Mike Braun to the inside, Rosar. Oh, wow, no contact. Braun just loses it. And netcodes and still takes out Rosar and Sonny Brown of that white Porsche. What a hellacious impact.
Absolutely terrible impact. The netcode off of that impact was insane. That it ricocheted him, and iRacing predicted back all the way back across the track into Rosar's path.
Back live, Brent Kincott coasting into turn 1 as he lets Delgado pull away a little bit. Elvis that time, purple. He's alive. He might be a few spots back of where he might need to be, but he's alive and starting to test the attrition of the field around him.
Some wacky pit strategy, Andrew. He might be right back in this thing.
Yeah, but he's nearly 6 seconds back of the race leader in Matthew O'Leary, and that's where that's the mark. It's not like there's any other real scenario. He's just got to go beat Matthew O'Leary and then hope the points work out. Right now, they wouldn't. But of course, even a drop could be impacted if you go out there and do well today. Who knows? I don't think we're going to see the drops really affect this race, but who knows exactly how this works out.
Absolutely. And I think that, for that reason, you never know what could happen with drops and all that. We saw John Kroom there for a moment. He returned off that pit exit, so he did get to grab his fast repair. So John Kroom will rejoin the race, even though it's looking pretty grim.
He is 1 lap down, but you know what? Who knows? We could see the other 3 championship competitors wad up their cars. I know I said John Kroom was out of it, but no, technically he's not. He still has a chance. A long shot, for sure, but a chance. And you know what? I appreciate the fact that he got back out there and is running more laps. He's going to run this out, I think, all the way until they take the white flag. And at that point, if he's still 1 lap down, maybe then he parks it. But hopefully he completes every lap here that he's able to. Props to John Kroom.
That's hard to do. I can only imagine the emotions running through him right now, especially when it seemed like a self-inflicted mistake as well. But the battle up front, it's still the same. Milan Harris, I wonder if he plays this any differently, knowing what happened to John. Now Milan, maybe he's able to sit behind, continue that saving that fuel, but he's maybe now all out going for the win.
It's hard to say. I don't know if there really even is much of a play at this point. O'Leary's just got to keep completing laps. Milan Harris doesn't really have much of a dog in the fight. What he needs is for Matthew O'Leary to just make a catastrophic mistake on his own. That's really the only thing Milan Harris can ask for as far as his team's efforts. So at this point, I think that both of these guys are just trying to complete the next 25 minutes.
They have opened up their gap very much so over Delgado and Kincott. There's Sean Patterson.
Patterson was slow for a moment in the International Horseshoe, and yes, here's a look from Delgado forward. And you can see he has fallen well out of that draft range. 3 seconds out of the top 2. And these are fixed setups, so quite simply the pace out of O'Leary and Harris is just that much better right now, and King Cot, I think, was kind of sucked into this. He might just be a little bit slower than O'Leary and Harris right now, but I think letting Delgado by, while necessary for the time, has really, really impacted his race, and I feel like it's held him back a little bit, but at the same time, he can now save fuel. So he could be trying to save enough fuel to leapfrog them in the pit lane.
You talk about all this fuel saving, and it's something, again, you get taught, well, you get told to do a lot with endurance teams and all. And I keep rolling back to the Daytona 24 because that's what's fresh on most of these drivers' minds running this track. But how much of a difference that's actually going to play in this 40-minute race, we'll still have yet to see. Can it be that difference of 3 seconds? I don't know.
It can be, but will it be? You know, that's just so hard to say. We'll have to watch and find out, of course. That is the point of a 40-minute race or whatever length race. You just got to watch and find out as we're taking a look at your top 2 drivers working through turn 6 and back up onto the oval in turn 7. There is an interesting battle further back. Well out of the championship, well out of really everything aside from just their own battle for position. Nicholas Sykes and Dominic Angelicchio here. Sykes the Lamborghini, Angelicchio the Audi that are currently on screen as they work through the kink and down to the West Horseshoe. Right behind them as well, you've got Guadagnoli, and it looks like a lapped car behind him actually. That is going to be Adam Ballard bringing his teammate John Kroom forward. So a couple of lapped cars there trying to work their way up through the field, a couple of teammates even.
Guadagnoli, he started shotgun on the field up to 24th.
Here's Pusick and Finch and Pisek, actually. We've got 3 cars here, 12th, 13th, and 14th positions. Bill Pisek, the number 41 M Squad Mercedes on screen. Stephen Finch, that multicolored BMW just behind, and we have got a pass, maybe, for 12th.
The drag race is on. That BMW very heavy, but the Mercedes isn't that much lighter.
And across the line there, Pisek still taking that spot for 12th position. Whoa, but a contact, door banging there to turn 1. Pisek will take it back away. And that Mercedes is oh so poised up out of corner exit and just drives away from that fight. So how about that? Up ahead of these guys, Krim Hussein is actually right on the back end of Bradley Alvis, and this could be a battle that really plays spoiler in the championship fight, considering Alvis' position. Hussein, if he really wants that 6th spot, he could really change things up.
I wonder how much, care did these drivers have for the championship battle? Did they notate the drivers, who have a chance at the championship? Do they give them that extra space? Or are they all more or less focused on their own race? And I guess we can kind of see this come to play here to see maybe what Hussein does, whether he goes at it or maybe just uses Alvis to maybe save some fuel or lets Alvis do his thing.
Krim definitely saving fuel that time into the bus stop, sitting back of the BMW of Alvis, and I think even that is a big, I guess, impact on this race. Alvis has to keep burning fuel. Krim Hussein able to keep saving fuel. As here's Milan Harris on Matthew O'Leary. Still just in the same formation down to the tri-oval. Nothing changing as we hit halfway. Even Delgado and King Cot, really nothing changing, Emerson. Do you think King Cot has something? It's actually, here comes Dominic Turcotte onto the pit lane. We are officially in that pit window.
Well, here we go. I guess the first of the strategy dominoes falls, and, well, that does not help Turcotte's case. Grabs the faster pair for good measure as well. And it'll be fuel only for the Mercedes. This is a track you don't really wear out tires, Andrew, so I could see maybe, this race. I mean, I know, the update was to make tires wear a little bit more in races like, Daytona, but I don't see the wear being that much. Here's Kroom, who's a lap down.
Has to go that long ways down the pit lane right to, I think, the 5th box in line. And he will take service. This should be pretty quick service, all things considered, here for John, before he heads back on the racetrack, as Joshua Lyon is in trouble all the way back at the end of pit lane. I think he had to back up into his box. And there goes John Groom back onto the racetrack, 11.53 seconds. That does not drop him any further than he already was. So he stays 1 lap down. That is good to note. He's not that 2nd lap down, so if something does happen ahead, he might still be able to grab some spots. As here's Matthew O'Leary, Milan Harris up out of oval turn 4. When do these guys pit? Well, here comes Delgado, and that is huge. Yep. King Cott on his own.
I was just about to say, Andrew, with these guys running nose to tail like that, it could be very easy for one of these cars to duck last second into the pit lane, and the other car in that, couplet has no real response in time.
There's Delgado into his box. Paty as well. And it looks like Joe Nagy will come in. And that really shakes things up for Brent Kincott. That's going to back him up quite a ways. He's got a lap car behind him and Joshua Lyon. And it's 4.5 seconds to Bradley Alvis. But no extra fuel saving here. It's going to make it even tougher. So let's just tally these things up. Not only is Brent Kincott, let's see, how many points out of it coming into tonight? 8 points. So it's not just a matter of going up and just simply passing O'Leary. He's got to pass and get some spots. But now, while yes, he was able to save a lot of fuel up to this point, he's not able to save any more fuel on this lap. He maybe should have pitted right there and just got ahead and bit the bullet with Delgado. But now he's on track alone, burning fuel, losing time. He's got no draft on the oval. A lot is stacking against this guy right now.
Absolutely, and I think in a perfect world he would have came in with Delgado there, but I don't know if he had the time to respond or would have been able to woe down to pit road speed in time or safely enough to complete a successful pit sequence. But he's going to go at it here, and I'd imagine he's coming in this time.
If not, probably the lap after. Let's see what O'Leary and Harris do. O'Leary looking down to the pit lane. Harris will stay out. So here comes Matthew O'Leary. Does Brent Kincott pit? No, he's got the fuel to keep going. And what is important here is he is now running with less fuel in the car. And I think that's why Harris is doing the same. They are running with a lighter car right now versus a heavier car later. The only thing I question, Emerson, is if that's actually beneficial if they have the draft after the pits. If they don't have the draft, obviously, while it is a hypothetical, if they don't have the draft, this would be beneficial because they're running lighter laps without the draft currently. But if they have the draft after, this feels like a complete moot point and actually could back them up. I think any other track, this is a good effort, but it's a little questionable here. And of course, again, it's a hypothetical. It's one of those things where hindsight will be 20/20. I will just have to wait and see. It's part of trying to string together a race strategy like this as cars work out of the pit lane. Kincott still on track. O'Leary, 17.9 seconds in the box. That is the longest nearly out of the entire field. The only drivers with a slower stop, Avon Dorsey in 10th and Dominic Turcotte in 12th.
Wow. I wonder if he maybe slit the box a little bit or maybe miscalculated the fuel.
That is actually quite detrimental. That's really going to put O'Leary in the neighborhood of Brent Kincott, I think. When it's all said and done, it was about a 3-second gap, call it 4 seconds now, between Kincott and the leaders, as Milan Harris is 4 seconds ahead of him. Harris will stay out. No, he will pit this time. So here comes the 69 car and the 99 of Brent Kincott, and he's going to cut that length into the pits as well. I think that's a little bit smart there for sure from Brent Kincott. And let's just see how long this stop is.
Lightest amount of fuel in the cars right now.
He's sputtering.
Least amount of fuel they have to take. Oh, wow.
Sputtering into the box. That is cutting things close. The only problem is if he lost any tenths or hundredths on the pits doing that. But hopefully the answer to that question is nil. There goes Milan Harris, a 14.3 second stop. It's a 15.33. That's already 2 seconds here for King Cot. Where is O'Leary? Right there. So O'Leary will still overtake Brent King Cot, and actually it will be by quite a ways, as King Cot still got to go pit speed right until there. It's still a sizable gap. And there goes Delgado as well.
He'll be right with Delgado, which is what happened before the stop. So,
and O'Leary could be solo. So we may yet have a new development here.
If Milan is able to keep the power down, keep that draft gap, or keep that gap over 1 second to O'Leary by the time to get to the oval, that would be huge in terms of O'Leary maybe taking fuel. But maybe O'Leary, took extra fuel in that stop, and he may have planned for not having draft here. But if you took a fuel mount here for these final 14 minutes, Andrew, while planning to have draft, and you don't have draft, all of a sudden you're playing a different ball game.
Meanwhile, Bradley Alvis now in a 5th spot. He had a quick pit stop, a 16.3 second service, at least quicker than Matthew O'Leary by quite a ways. So he picked up a little bit of time and is well ahead of Kyle Paty now. And he's in a good position if something happens ahead of him to try and take advantage of it. Will anything happen ahead of him? Well, that's the million-dollar question currently for the championship. It's a 3-second gap from Delgado to O'Leary, but that may start to close. Only 13 minutes to go in the amateur season at Daytona. Oh boy, things are going to tighten up. Things are going to be a whole lot of fun here towards the end. Other battles in the field while we wait for this kind of to formulate. Michael Pusick, Dominic Turcotte, this is for 11th. And actually 10th and even 9th as Avon Dorsey and David Stevenson are just ahead of these drivers. Delgado and King Cot, they swap spots into turn 1. King Cot around the outside. Delgado hanging on the inside. That's going to slow them both down. Delgado really running the 99 out to the outside of the racetrack and protecting now into the International Horseshoe.
From that angle, it looked like King Cot was going to get in there deep, maybe even show a little muscle there with Delgado, but he'll stay behind. Delgado has the acceleration on corner exit, and Harris has definitely broken a gap over O'Leary.
You wondered earlier, Emerson, if any of these drivers knew the championship situation. I think the answer there for at least Ricardo Delgado is no.
And you know what? Fair enough.
It is a motor race, and they are motor racing.
There's no requirement for him to just lay over. Race it out.
Avon Dorsey had a bit of a moment. He drops down to 12th behind Pusick and Turcotte. We had just briefly checked into that before all of that happened with King Cot and Delgado. Ilya Speaker and Don Gottlieb, they're battling here for 19th position. And further back, Robert Guadagnoli and Corey Groves for 27th. 1 minute 19 seconds behind the race leaders. And, Guadagnoli a little out wide there as Groves checked up maybe a little bit more than he was expecting. Here we go, maybe another opportunity for these drivers, for King Cot to try and go around Delgado. I think he's got to try and get an inside position, but of course Ricardo not going to budge off that bottom line. Down to turn 1, 11 minutes to go. King Cot trying to race for some points in the championship. Loose on the outside of turn 1. Delgado sweeps out in front of him once again. Oh boy, this is going to really be tough, and they're starting to slow each other down now. They've got to try and leapfrog on the oval if they want to make it this time up.
Absolutely, they're bringing Bradley Alvis in the sniff and the draft range here, and they may be fighting for a little bit more than just between 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is how much do you actually want to fight here and slow each other down? For King Cot, really for both of them, the answer should be no, but for King Cot especially, the answer has to be no. Delgado doesn't have to race for the win necessarily. Brent does. And he really needs to get by this 3-car. Delgado is really holding him up. Well, holding him back, I should say. Meanwhile, Milan Harris leads us on to the Daytona Superstretch. O'Leary second. Just 10 minutes now away from a championship in the North American Racing League Amateur Division. One that would certainly move him up to Pro-Am. And what's interesting about this amateur series is we've had so much good racing, so many ebbs and flows, so many drama-inducing moments, and just twists in this championship. It's hard to say that any one of these drivers necessarily needs to go to Pro-Am, but I think a good chunk of them are going to go up.
It's been a very competitive season. It's hard to argue that anyone shouldn't of these, mainstays at the front of the field, these front runners.
Side by side here for third. Once again, King Cot around the outside, trying to find something, and this time it stuck a little better, and Delgado's got to give him racing room. He still comes across a little bit.
And defensive down here in the horseshoe around the outside. Goes King Cot again. We'll say Delgado providing some amazing defense. It looks like the Lambo may excel a little bit more here in the infield.
Just a little bit, yeah, and it's really holding this Audi back. But you know what? They're actually starting to catch Milan Harris. I don't know if Milan's having to scale his pace back a little bit to try and account for fuel or what. But Milan Harris that lap checked up quite a bit, lost a lot of time. Although it's really not hurting between O'Leary and Delgado. That gap is still healthy in the case of O'Leary. But Matthew could actually get some draft.
Potentially. It looked like there's like a weird slowdown for Milan off the Lamar chicane. I went back and looked at it. There was no cutting the course. So it was not a slowdown penalty.
Oh, here we go. A good attempt here from King Cot up the inside into the bus stop. This is a perfect setup, and I think Brent's finally going to have it. Yes, Delgado has to relent. But now, of course, King Cot has no draft help, and he's just got to hope that he can work with Delgado to try and make up this gap. It is a 3.7 second gap right now between O'Leary and King Cot. But at the very least, we've now seen that Brent can go make that pass, and if something happens to O'Leary, he's in the best position to take advantage of it. He's just got to try and work together.
King Cot with a huge moment there into turn one. He will get the brakes down, outbrakes Delgado. That may be all he needed to at least give himself a little breathing room between himself and Delgado. I'm sure Delgado will keep this pace up and try to get back at it on the oval. But King Cot, he's got to make something happen, and something happen now.
Tentatively, 4 laps to go. What this also does is give himself a cushion back to Bradley Alvis. That's very important, even if they don't fight for a championship with O'Leary. Just that spot in general. King Cot actually comes in 4 points behind Bradley Alvis, so if he's able to hold Alvis up and give him a fight and allow Paty to catch back up, maybe there's something there that holds Alvis back far enough for King Cot to get that spot. That would put him second of the championship, and that, of course, increases the payout that he gets at the end of the season.
That's right. There's money on the line for, I think, the entire top 5 in all 3 divisions. So, of course, improving your standing there if you have the chance to. Got to go for it. Alvis looks like he hasn't broken the draft to Petit, but he doesn't look that under pressure from Kyle Petit.
King Cot's got to find a lot of time real quickly. 3.3 seconds, 6 minutes to go, 3 laps to go when they get back around. He's got to find it. He's got to find it now.
Gained a little bit, but it's a tall ask at this moment.
And actually, it may be 4 laps to go.
Oh, you're right.
May have been off by 1 lap. It may be 4 laps to go still. We'll see. It's going to be real tight, real close. But that is exactly what King Cot needs as he brings the gap down momentarily to about 2.9 seconds. And it starts to work its way back up after turn 1. But he is taking chunks out of the gap to O'Leary periodically. And, of course, it kind of ebbs and flows. It's hard to really get a good look at on the road course. But when they pop onto the oval, you really get a good view of the whole picture between these two. And now Alvis does have company.
Maybe Alvis had to save a little bit of fuel. You said he had a little bit of a quicker stop than O'Leary. Petit is on it here. And again, could be, off the track a little bit there is Alvis. And this could be the, intriguing battle for some cash here.
Loose out of 6 that time for the 296. And who knows, maybe one of these guys goes out and grabs themselves too many incident points through the bus stop, ends up incident pointing out of this, disqualifies himself, potentially picks up a drive-through, who knows. There's always twists and turns, no matter the situation, as King Kot's going to hang on to the spot for one more lap around the bus stop at the very least. Down inside of 3 seconds.
Isn't fastest lap a point too? And I believe King Kot holds that, right?
No points for fastest lap. 2 bonus points for the top qualifier for per position, which, by the way, that would be Matthew O'Leary. So add 2 more points to that gap. It's really going to be tough for King Kot. Quite frankly, as long as O'Leary does not crash or get crashed, I don't think O'Leary loses this championship.
That's what it's shaping up to be right now. That is what's looking like. That does look like 3 laps to go, Andrew. So yeah, that count was right. Then last time, or the time before, 4 laps ago when you called it there. We will have a little bit more racing to go, and Alvis is feeling the pressure. You saw King Kot not able to break away from Delgado.
Brent just keeps picking up little bits of time, but it's simply not enough. If this was an endurance race, if this was a 24, he'd be on pace to get there soon, but not soon enough for this 40-minute race for the amateurs. Alvis and Paty, they do battle back here for 5th and 6th. Stevenson and Turcotte, this is for 9th and 10th. Other battles in the field, Corcoran and Bowerman as they head to the kink. Gottlieb and Angeliquiel, this is for 20th. How about D. Giacomo and Nicholas Sykes for 22nd position with just a couple of laps remaining? Sean Patterson and Armando Bejaran down to turn 1. Nearly contact. This racing for 24th spot. Bejaran will take it away in car 05. It will be 2 laps to go for Milan Harris, this time by the stripe.
Plenty of gap here.
Perfect race, all things considered.
I mean, he just stalked Matthew O'Leary the entire opening fuel stint. And then O'Leary had to come in, what was it, a lap or 2 laps prior than Milan? And that was the difference there. Milan on that light fuel load was able to crank out some very quick laps, and maybe there's a miscalculation for O'Leary's pit. In terms of race win, Milan Harris played it beautifully.
Some other battles heading into the Trioval. This is Turcotte and Stevenson for 9th and 10th. Stevenson on the inside of that M Squad Porsche works out to the side of Turcotte a little bit. I don't think there was too much contact, if any. But you're right, Emerson. I think Milan Harris is just able to do everything perfectly as far as putting himself in position, taking advantage of fuel loads, and simply walking away from the 18 car. But that's not going to be enough to take the championship away from this guy, Matthew O'Leary, I don't think. We've still got a lap and a half to go. It could still happen. But we are, that half lap away from officially, I think, saying that John Groom is out of this championship in the 30th position. 1 lap down behind Guadagnoli and others. It's going to take a lot for Matthew O'Leary to not win at this point. That said, they're working up on lap traffic, so maybe that's the allot that this field needs. Brent King Kot second still, or third over Delgado. Bradley Alvis did just lose his spot to Kyle Patsy. I'm not sure exactly what happened between these two. I'd imagine just a normal straight-up pass. But here comes the potential champion in the amateur series to take white flag. 1 lap to go at Daytona. Milan Harris leads for the race, but O'Leary leads for the championship. White flag at Daytona, brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams.
Phenomenal drives from both. That Mercedes right here in between Milan Harris and Matthew O'Leary almost gave Milan Harris a little bit of a scare there coming onto the oval out of turn 6. Watch O'Leary as he tries to navigate the lapped Mercedes.
That's Guadagnoli behind the wheel in the 29th position. Brent King Kot, he's put up one heck of a fight, and he has been, I think, sensational at times this season. A couple of really important race wins for himself. He's broken out in a couple of great ways. It's simply not going to be enough. Bradley Alvis, I think similar story there. No wins for him. But again, just a solid campaign, rookie campaign for him, I do believe, here in the North American Racing League. For John Kroom, he's been around for a while, but finally put together some wins, and he will now park in turn one, I think, understanding the situation, and very unfortunately just going to sit there while this championship runs its course. It's simply not going to work out for him tonight. Matthew O'Leary down the back straightaway, down the Daytona super stretch and into the bus stop. The gap slowly works down to Brent Kingcott, but even if he got there, it wouldn't be enough now. Yes, Milan Harris from Rockefeller Racing is going to win today at Daytona, but winning an entirely separate, and I think arguably certainly more important battle here. Matthew O'Leary for M Squad, Advanced Sim Racing, Oceana Coffee, and more is going to win the North American Racing League Championship in Amateur Division.
Phenomenal season then from Matthew O'Leary. Played out very well, and he played his cards right here. Didn't succumb to any pressure there towards the end here, and did everything right. He put the car exactly where it needed to be. He didn't put himself in any extreme scenarios, and he just gave himself a chance.
The rest of the field comes by. Joe Nagy across the line. Kenneth Michael will be next. We do have some battles that we can go ahead and catch up with here coming to the line. This is Don Gottlieb and Dominic Angelicchio for 20th position. A couple of Audi R8s off the high banks. And it will be a drag race. The inside car is Gottlieb in the orange. The outside car is Angelicchio in the gray. And to the line, Gottlieb will keep it. And really, that's about the only battle aside from Joshua Lyon and Sean Patterson, but they are well too far apart out of turn 4. And that will do it for us this season. Corey Groves with the final car to finish here, Emerson, but just waiting on the formalities, really.
Absolutely, and it was a great season. Of course, we saw more racing tonight, but it puts a nice bow tie on what it was for the amateur races this season. There were some great and highly competitive races this season, and I think it adds more value to what O'Leary just accomplished here tonight.
And the pain certainly evident for John Kroom as he now sits in the pit lane after a season well done, but unfortunately it's not going to matter for the championship. Let's go through our unofficial race results this evening for the amateur category here at Daytona International Speedway. Always a breathtaking scene for some racing, and it was definitely that this evening. The sunset back behind turn number 1. And let's take a look at your unofficial race results from Daytona round 8 of 8. Milan Harris with the win by 7/10 and change over Matthew O'Leary there at the checkers. Ricardo Delgado just nabbed Kingcott at the line, so it wouldn't have mattered anyways, as Alvis even came back briefly there on Kyle Patsy, set up for that last moment move. Aaron Beaver 7th, Karim Hussein 8th, Dominic Turcotte 9th, and David Stevenson wraps up your top 10.
11th will find Avon Dorsey, 12th Kyle Pusick, 13th Bill Pasek, 14th Kerry Cochran, 15th Billy Bowerman, 16th Stephen Finch, 17th Joe Nagy, Kenneth Michael finishes 18th, Billy Speaker at 19th, and Don Gottlieb rounds out the top 20.
Finishing 21st tonight, Dominic Angelicchio in car 112, Brett DiGiacomo goes 22nd, Nicholas Sykes, Armando Bejeron, Sean Patterson, Joshua Lyon, and Corey Groves, the final finishers on the lead lap. Sonny Brown, Robert Rodinoli, Adam Ballard, they all finished one lap down ahead of guys like Chris Winstone. John Kroom, the heartbreak there in car 455, ends up 2 laps down in 32nd. Zach Rosar, 33rd. Mike Braun, 34th. Then William Valdez, Aubrey Kundle, Mark Scott, Scott Angelo, and Philip Badurka, all with early exits here in our 39-car field for 40 minutes at Daytona International Speedway. Milan Harris wins the final race of the season, and as such, the Rockefeller Racing driver is ready to talk to us. Milan, another job well done. Initially, it looked like maybe you could have tried to play a spoiler, help your teammate out, but that kind of went out the window early. What happened to John?
I don't know, but obviously we need to send him to Daniel Morad and do some coaching, because he did not get the job done tonight.
Well, and what's it like with just everything going on with the championship battle? I'm sure wanting your teammate to win and racing the guy that he is racing for the championship. How does that weigh on your mind as you also want to go get yourself a race win?
I do want to win, but coming into this race, it was definitely all about John. So I was going to stay behind Matthew, just play a smart race. Wasn't going to push a pass because I didn't want to make a mistake, push into him, ruin his race. Definitely not worth that. I was like, if it comes down to a pass, let's make it happen in the pits. And I was hoping John would make his way up, and be able to battle him and see what they could do. But something happened and that didn't happen. So at that point, it was like, let's just get to the finish and see if we can win it. That whole back stretch, the finish line stretch, I was out of gas, sputtering. Didn't even know if I was going to make it.
Well, how about this season as a whole, Milan? You've got a couple of race wins this season. You close things out here at Daytona for the final race of the season. Not the season I think you wanted, as far as you had to miss a race or two, I think, because of internet connectivity issues, but at least one of the most exciting seasons we've seen. What was it like from a driver standpoint?
It was good. I think the Rockefeller Racing team definitely put some time in this year. We've grown as a team, practicing together. John stepped up. We're battling on those hot laps and stuff. It's definitely helped. So I think as a whole, the team's definitely helping. Done quite a bit of coaching here with Daniel Morad lately. I think that's definitely helped. Just had a lot of misfortunes at the start of the season. Growing pains, and hopefully I can learn from every single one before moving up to the Pro-Am. So
there you go, Milan Harris with a checkered flag this evening. Milan, congratulations, and hopefully we're talking to you as a Pro-Am next season.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Milan Harris with the big W at Daytona. We'll bring in Matthew O'Leary, and Matthew, it's not the race win that you were set up for a while, maybe not the race win that you wanted this evening, but we do believe by numbers that you are our Season 4 Amateur Champion. First off, what does that mean to you?
Oh man, I'm absolutely stoked to have taken home the championship, and definitely, a race win would have been nice, but got some bonus points for the pole and 0xing as well, just to pad it a little bit. And John and Milan both were flying, the Rockefeller Racing guys, and that was definitely who I was looking out for. So I tried to build that gap to the rest of the racers and stick with Milan as much as I could. But man, I just wanted to drive that home.
In a season that we never really knew who was going to win the championship, how valuable was the experience and I think the calm behind you at M Squad to keep you poised, keep you ready for success?
Oh man, honestly, it was everything. Especially leading up to this race, got on with a big group of guys and just went at it, battling around Daytona, prepping. I was prepared to do some fuel saving, but ending up out in front, Milan got to do the fuel saving behind me, so I just had to go for the pure pace and try and pull away as much as I could to get a gap. But yeah, the coaching from Giuliano and Morad, it just was everything, and everybody was pitching in too, all the guys in Pro-Am as well.
Well, Matthew, congratulations, you're a champion in the North American Racing League. At least as of now, in unofficial numbers. I don't think that's going to work against you, though. You're probably going to be a Pro-Am driver next season. Does that mean anything to you?
Oh, definitely. It's always good to be leading, but I think you definitely grow when you're battling a little bit more, and watching the Pro-Am pro race. The pace difference is definitely there. So got a lot of practicing to do, a lot of prep to do. Muradness squad will keep me on my toes, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Matthew, congratulations. Go celebrate, buddy. Have a cold one on us. Kind of, not really. I can't really buy you a beer, but congratulations, buddy. Celebrate. Have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Matthew O'Leary wrapping up a championship season for himself and for M Squad. And Emerson, there's a lot of places to keep up with Pit Stop TV for some upcoming broadcasts on the channel. Here's a look at them. Saturday evening, we've got Hickory Motor Speedway for some late model stock car action with the Martin Late Model Showdown. Monday evening, we've got Legends at Langley. And Thursday, we have more North American Racing League action. All winners, all season winners, are eligible to race in their own divisions for some extra cash bonuses Thursday, February 16th at Road Atlanta. We're still going to have a couple of opportunities in this Pro and Pro-Am race. A couple of new drivers could punch their ticket to that one to get some extra bonus cash, even if they're not in it for the championship. Wouldn't that be nice?
Absolutely. Great news, and I'm glad we'll be able to get some more racing. And that was I was a little sad we didn't get Road Atlanta on the calendar this season, so that'll be a nice makeup for that as well. And of course, you can keep up with all of our updates on across our social media platforms, our Facebook page at facebook.com/pitstoptv, our Instagram at pit_stop_tv, our Twitter at pitstoptv_. We are live on Twitch tonight at twitch.tv/pit_stop_tv, and our YouTube channel, of course, at youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1.
And for the amateurs, the book has closed on this season. Road America, VIR, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Interlagos, Suzuka, Spa, Brands Hatch, and Daytona. Things close up this evening here, February 9th, 2023. But we've still got to close the book for the pros and pro-ams here in just a few moments. We'll get the pro race going from the high bigs at Daytona. Don't go anywhere. More racing this evening on Pit Stop TV coming right at you.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS. you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome back to the virtual Daytona International Speedway, the virtual world center of racing. Emerson, we've seen one race already close out the season for the amateur drivers and crown a champion in Matthew O'Leary. Now, the pros and pro-ams that might be receiving some new competitors next season, like Matthew O'Leary, well, they are left to settle things here on the high banks. A lot of the clouds have moved out. We've got technically a new day, if you will, in the sim, but the same old Daytona International Speedway, and we are working into the evening. You can see there the air temp down to 69.3 degrees Fahrenheit, a little bit later than the Pro-Am race, than the Am race. As the time moves on here, we're going to work nearly under the lights in this race, Emerson, and it's going to be beautiful.
Absolutely love this setting here at Daytona. Of course, you know, you get to see the sun kind of set down on the speedway, and you get to take a look at the track map once again. It was a very chaotic opening to the amateur race. If you missed it, it's definitely something you should go back and watch after this. But we saw chaos all through the infield. I actually did not see all that much go on in the Le Mans chicane, but definitely turn 6 into horseshoes. It provided a lot of action.
Point standings. Let's talk point standings. Let's get it out of the way here. The pros and pro-am. So the pro-am battle, we can sum that one up pretty quickly, Emerson. While 10th place on each side, yes, it comes out to 84 points. Look at the difference in first to fourth versus first between classes. For first to fourth in the pros, 22 points. First to second in the pro-ams, 28 points. Scott Kimbrough, once he starts the race, once he takes the green flag, he should, for all intents and purposes, be our champion this evening at Daytona. But over on the pro side, it's a little bit murkier. And you and I were going over some potential scenarios in our minds a few moments ago. Quite frankly, Gustavo has this to a point, right? If he gets swept up in some kind of issue, some kind of crash, if he makes a mistake, if he drops outside of the top 15, really outside of the top 10, that's danger zone, where Ricardo Rico can take this championship, even Toby Soriano, and heck, Tim Matzke, he's a long shot at 22 points back, but he's in it mathematically.
Absolutely. And again, Andrew, we saw just how wild the amateur race, up and down the running order. There's really no safe place in this field other than maybe the lead. And that's even stretching it. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what qualifying pans out like, where Gustavo sees himself in this race, and how aggressive or how cautious Gustavo takes in the early going.
We've got a lot of questions to answer in this 15-minute race. Let's answer a few of them from the start. Qualifying on track now. Hunter McDaniel was fastest in practice, and Emerson, he's one of the first cars on track in this qualifying session. Car 12, Brabham Esports, it looks like rocking the Porsche 911 this evening. See car 12 here on screen. How about his teammate in Stephen McDonald, though? I've got to find car 36, and ooh, it's McLaren there for McDonald. So a split car choice between those two. That's rather interesting as they get up to speed on their outlaps. From the top of the list, though, at least as the jumbled random order is on my screen, how about Dalton Zafadil in a Ferrari for SimCity Racing, David Schwartz in a McLaren for M Squad, Matthew Dench in a Porsche from Australia. You've got Ricardo Rico in a Porsche as well, so the Porsches are making a comeback here in the North American Racing League. Even a Porsche for Juan Belena, that is huge. Fabio Zamperlini behind the wheel of McLaren this evening. Brent Cook in a Porsche. Jackson Resende in a Mercedes. A big change up there for the Brazilian. Bobby Flack in a Porsche there for Team Empire. We've already seen Stephen McDonald. How about Diego Ere behind the wheel of an Audi? Giuliano Romagnola behind the wheel of a Porsche for M Squad. Pierre Thompson in a Mercedes. It's Martin Grimigna in a Porsche in car 823. He easily could win this race this evening in Pro-Am. Hunter McDaniel, we saw his Porsche already. How about Ryan Almonds, number 187 McLaren for SimCity Racing. Victor Miranda tonight in a Porsche for Texaco Racing by TK. Lucas Souza, a Porsche for Air Kinetics. Carlos Barreto, Barreto there in the... Look at that, another Mercedes here for Texaco Racing by TK. They're changing things up on us. Bruno De Carmo also in a Porsche. Will Coffey in a Ferrari, which is interesting because moments before the amateur race fired off, Will Coffey was actually testing a BMW. So I'm really surprised here by the car choice for Will Coffey. Christopher Hill in a Porsche this evening. John Sedlak back in his Firelight Esports Porsche number 203 out of New Jersey. Martin Crisp in a McLaren this evening. Mitchell Johnson in a McLaren. Marco Saavedra in a Porsche. That seems to be the car of choice for the pros. Thomas Rayleigh in his Ferrari 488. Justin Barrera in the number 419 BMW. Gustavo Ediel, the guy we're talking about for the championship. He's sticking true to that McLaren that he's had in recent weeks from Texaco Racing by TK. And boy, could that be a lethal choice either for himself or the rest of the field. We'll have to wait and see as Miguel Colon gets up to speed in his Lamborghini Huracan. Scott Reiser's back in the field. So good to see him back out here in his Porsche 911. Zach Deus in the Porsche as well in car 012. Love 46 in an Audi this evening. Scott Kimbrough, he's in a Porsche. And to wrap things up, we've got Eric Staropoli and Stacy Bertrand in a Porsche and a Ferrari as time starts to pour in here, Emerson. Will Coffey at the top of the board.
Yep, bunch of Pro-Am times come in. Here goes Juan Belena going top of the charts. It has a 44.128, and that is going to be one of the top end. Well, I say that, but Saavedra goes a 44.0 to go top of the timing sheet. And the last time we saw this many Porsches, Andrew, in this pro category,
Road America.
Didn't pan out too well at Road America for a good chunk of them. So they're making a comeback here, and of course, it's not the same amount of Porsches we saw week one. There's plenty of McLarens to go around as well, but this is the largest Porsche field we've seen in about 8 weeks. Yeah.
And how about Miguel Colon, though? I mean, third place right now. Pro-Am drivers are definitely going to have something for the pros tonight. Miguel Colon, Ryan Amon, and Scott Kimbrough, all Pro-Ams, but in the top 5 right now in qualifying. Even Gramigna, Flack, and Souza in the top 10. Love 46 and Fabio Zamperlini are in the top 10 right now. I know we're still waiting on a lot of times to come in from guys like Stephen McDonald, Giuliano Romagnolo, Pierre Thompson, Hunter McDaniel, Bruno De Carmo, but a really promising start here for a lot of drivers. Let's check in, though. Here's Gustavo Ariel, the driver we've all got to watch tonight in that McLaren. First lap out, it was a slow one, as clearly he was taking some time to work these tires in. 14, nearly 15 seconds off pace.
And so warm-up lap for these pros on a very, very cold racetrack. Not optimal temperature for racing tires at all at 71-degree track temp and 69 degrees air temp. So Gustavo taking his time on that warm-up lap. Blaine at his second lap goes up 40. Oh, I thought it was a 43.9, but it blips there. It's not faster. Saavedra holds station at the top of the charts.
Dench up to second in his number 83 Porsche within a half-tenth of Marco Saavedra. Gramigna now up to 7th spot. Scott Kimbrough goes up to the 8th position. Ryan Amon drops to 9th, comes across the line. Can he go faster? He does not. Fabio Zamperlini, though, he's just begun a new lap. How about Dalton Zavadil? Martin Crisp actually up into the top 5 in his McLaren. McDonald to 6th. And there's Ricardo Rico. He finally entered the chat.
One of those drivers who could try to snipe this title away from Gustavo Ariel. And
he's the first one into the 43s.
Yep.
Oh, there he is!
Well, right as I mentioned it.
Gustavo Ariel shows up as well, nips Ricardo Rico by 1/1000. No, sorry, not 1/1000. It's 1.5 100ths of a second, 15 1,000ths of a second there at the line. Things are close, things are tight. Do you think Rico has something here on this last lap?
You can never count him out. Certainly, we'll have to wait and see, but we shall see if Ricardo Rico is going to have a say in this title fight.
Resende's first lap, well off pace, is a 2-minute. You don't see that at Daytona very often unless you're in a Mazda MX-5, but again, one of those laps where you're just scrubbing some tire off, trying to get some optimal temps in the car. David Schwartz on track. He is currently 34th. Jackson Resende now is 33rd. As I think Romagnolo actually finally got a good lap in. I was on the wrong car. I was looking at Resende. Here's Romagnolo. He is in the 21st spot. Mitchell Johnson is now in 19th. And we're still watching those guys on the top of the board as Matthew Dench will wrap up his run. Marco Saavedra still has this lap remaining.
Saavedra is one of the early pace setters.
Oh, Ricardo Rico's done.
Wow.
This is big. This is an extra 2 points that Gustavo is going to have if nobody's able to contest for this pole. Resende up to 3rd, and he's going to call it quits. Of course, he doesn't want to take those 2 points away from Gustavo Ariel. Gustavo across the line. Does he go faster? He does! A monster lap into the 7s. Marco Saavedra up on a turn 2 on the oval. I think he's the only round left in the chamber, really. I mean, let's see. Fabio Zamperlini, maybe. He's still at a turn 2 on the oval. Bruno De Carmo could, but of course, he'd be working against his teammates, so I doubt that's going to happen. Let's just watch Saavedra and see if he's got anything.
And Marco Saavedra, one of the early pace setters in qualifying, looking to see if he can go top of the charts here in the final 70 seconds. 37, 38. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be close at the line. Looking for a 43.790, and it's simply not going to be enough. Marco Saavedra misses the mark there for pole. Fabio Zamperlini to the line, misses the mark as well, but does go a little bit faster in 18th position. And Bruno Di Carmo's run will come to a close. So it's an extra 2 points for the guy who already has a 12-point advantage in the standings, Gustavo Ariel. Boy, he's looking good.
Absolutely. So it'll be effectively 14 points and 14, 15 spots. Ricardo Rico would have to get Ven on Gustavo in the race overall. Toby Soriano would, be 15, 16, or 16, 17 spots ahead of Gustavo. So it's a tall ask, but it's not impossible because just we've seen all season, almost anything can and almost anything will happen in these races.
Yeah, that's definitely been the case over the course of this North American Racing League Season 4 schedule. On the GT3 cars, you see all tracks listed here. Road America, Virginia International Raceway, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, Suzuka Circuit, Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, Brands Hatch Circuit, Daytona International Speedway. All 8 rounds. Just one of the best seasons, if not the best season we've ever seen here with the North American Racing League, and it continues to just get better and better. And it's going to get better this evening because we have got cars on track loading into their starting positions. Emerson, let's meet our starting grid. On pole for round 8 of 8, Gustavo Ariel defending his points lead and trying to defend the championship from car 1. He's got a great head start, 14 points as they drop the green this evening. That's the margin from Ariel back to everybody else. Ricardo Rico, second in the standings. He's going to make up those 14 points as he starts alongside his championship rival. Starting third, it's Jackson Rosende, teammate to Gustavo Ariel. And last season in Interlagos, we saw a lot of choreography between those Texaco Racing by TK drivers. Watch for some here on this start as well, as Matthew Dench will start alongside Rosende in the 4th position. Starting 5th, it's Marco Saavedra. Victor Miranda, another driver for Texaco Racing by TK, will start from 6th. While Juan Blanette and Hunter McDaniel lock down row number 4, Martin Crisp and Stephen McDonald will start from 9th and 10th.
11th will find Miguel Colon there in the 87 machine, the one in 2nd, who will need a lot to go right if he's going to snag that Pro-Am title. Love 46 will start 12th in the number 46 machine. Row number 7 will find Martin Gramigna and Juliano Romagnolo there in the 14th position. Back to row number 8, it'll be the 117 of Scott Kimbrough, the current Pro-Am point leader by 28 points, and has his bed pretty made for him. Finding our way back to row number 9, it'll be Carlos Barreto and Fabio Zamperlini. And row number 10, it'll be Dalton Zavadil and Christopher Hill.
21st starting position goes to Bobby Flack this evening in car 88. David Schwartz will start from 22nd. 23rd, it's the 203 from Firelight Esports. That is John Sedlak. Mitchell Johnson rolls off from 24th this evening. Lucas Souza from 25th spot. Diego Eda there from 26th. Brent Cook rolls off from 27th. Will Coffey from 28th in his Ferrari. And to round out the top 30, it's Thomas Rayleigh and Eric Staropoli with just 6 cars behind 30th spot. Here they are. Zach Deus in car 012, Stacy Bertrand in car 52. Starting 33rd, Justin Barrera in car 418, Pierre Thompson from 34th in the back row this evening, Bruno Di Carmo and Scott Reister. Gustavo Ariel out front of them all in perfect position to take a 2nd consecutive championship. The question is, can he hang on over the course of 50 minutes, an expected 29 laps with weather conditions dropping? The air temp dropping as we descend into night in Daytona. It's a sunset setting here at Daytona Beach. Round 8 of 8 for Season 4. We're underway at Daytona.
Oh, no.
Juan Blanette already in trouble. I saw his nose skidding across the pavement. Maybe not Blanette. Might have been another Porsche. But we've got to wad him up in the S's as well, it looks like. Some cars slow. We'll get a recap of all of it once we have a chance to get this first lap completed.
Other than the turn 1 incident, a relatively calm.
Oh, there it is. Miguel Colon gets punted.
Oh, up and over. We'll go that Lamborghini.
And Miguel Colon, I think, for all intents and purposes, done on lap 1.
And any chance he had at the that Pro-Am Championship, it was very minimal at the start. It is now almost 0.
On to the Daytona Super Stretch. Gustavo Ariel, Jackson Resende, and everybody else working down to the bus stop for the first time in our 50-minute race for the pros and pro-ams. A good look here at all of the battles down to this heavy braking zone. A lot of side-by-sides here.
It's this braking zone here into the Le Mans chicane, the back straightaway chicane, that really tests the give and take of drivers on the opening lap. And we see a fairly calm back straightaway chicane, and pretty much everyone who enters there makes it out through to the other side on this time around.
Ariel leads. It's Resende second, Matthew Dench third, Victor Miranda fourth. You know who I don't see is Ricardo Rico. He's all the way down in 8th position, dropping a bunch on that opening lap as everybody comes across the stripe. Ricardo Rico back here behind Juan Blanat. It looks like Blanat might have taken some damage, but is mostly okay. Still contending here in 7th, and Rico from a 2nd place starting position. He's in a lot of trouble right now if he wants to win this championship. It's not looking good for anybody but car number 1. Let's take a look back at the start of this race and try and dissect what happened in turn 1.
Yeah, Hunter McDaniel, there's a little bit of a lag in turn 1 between a couple cars, and Hunter McDaniel went skidding across the runoff area there off to the right-hand side here.
So let's watch Hunter McDaniel out of turn 1, and that's the contact with Blanat. I saw his nose skidding across the grass, and oh, he punts. Wow! There was door-to-door contact, and I feel like Blanat rolled off the brake and just said, yeah, get on out of here, and shouldered the 12 car off of the racetrack. That was really interesting.
That's too bad, because Hunter McDaniel, he's had pace all season, and it just seems like McDaniel, has had the cars and sometimes the great races lined up and just gets into some rough luck. And this time it starts before he even hits the first corner. And at the moment, also Ricardo Rico just went off into bus stop.
And there it is for McDaniel going off into the pavement there, and then something had to have happened first lap here to Rico as well early on. He lost a lot of spots very, very quickly. I'm not sure if it was in the infield or if it was onto the oval or what happened to him, but he lost a lot of spots that first opening lap, and as you mentioned, off and dropping continuously. 27th spot now. He's got a lot of damage. We'll get the replay up for you here after everything that went wrong for him on lap 1. Well, a lot more if we can catch. There we go. A lot more has just gone wrong on lap number 2.
So he's trying to make up any time he can now here into the bus stop, and I don't know if he gets in here maybe a little too hot, or I guess we'll see here.
Just got loose.
Wow.
The rear end came around on him, and that, yep, he's done. I mean, that's, wow. A big, big hit. And honestly, a big hit in more ways than one, Emerson. That's a big hit, not only physically for that race car, but emotionally, I'm sure, for Rico. He's been fantastic, won a lot of races this season, really surprised a lot of people, and it's just that massive impact there.
I wonder if maybe there's a combination there of cold tires and the brake bias a little too low. That's going to be a tough one to swallow. Again, looks like, just all by himself. A car solo has an incident like that and goes around.
Matthew Dench pushing Jackson Resende. This the fight for second. Not much of a fight yet as Victor Miranda goes purple. And Marcus Saavedra and Juan Blanat were side by side briefly as Martin Gramigna gets by Love 46 into turn 1. A lot happening very, very quickly right now. Love 46 drops that spot into 9th position. Ryan Amon now going to hound her. And this is a big-time comeback round for Love 46. She has had an abysmal season in every right. A lot of bad luck, turning things around so far at Daytona, in the top 10, battling with some Pro-Am leaders. And honestly, those Pro-Am leaders are right in contention with the mid-pack, if not the top 10 of the pros every single week, as you can see here with Gramigna and Amon. So a lot of great racing in this area of the racetrack, this area of the field. Fabio Zamperlini, former series champion, also in 11th. Scott Kimbrough, the current points leader in Pro-Am, back here in this battle as well in 12th.
I was just looking up the running order, and after Ricardo Rico's troubles, I was looking. The only other driver who would have a chance at Gustavo Ariel realistically would be Toby Soriano. I don't see Toby in the race.
Yeah, it looks like Toby Soriano did not make the trip to Daytona this evening, as well, that was really the only other real good chance to have a different champion this evening. Otherwise, Tim Matzke, and I don't even see Tim Matzke in the field. So the other two rounds chambered are, well, not chambered. They're not even here this evening. Kind of unfortunate that those two drivers were not able to make it. But here's the side-by-side battle between Ryan Amon and Fabio Zamperlini. Into the trioval, a couple of McLarens side-by-side as headlights have turned on in Daytona. Victor Miranda purple that lap. It's a 1:43.527. Zamperlini on the outside of the Pro-Am second-place driver in Oman. And they will stay nose to tail. Back up front, Resende still over Matthew Dench and Victor Miranda. Stephen McDonald in this fight.
Yeah, we saw McDonald was one of those top two with teammate Hunter McDaniel at the top of the charts in practice. It looked like a little bit of a draft lap, but nonetheless, going at it here and well within the top five, or at least in this top five battle. Down in the rear end of Victor Miranda, cutting a little bit of grass there on the inside of that second horseshoe.
It's only lap 5. A lot has happened already, and, it's going to be a little bit tough knowing what we had at the beginning and what we so far no longer have with this potential battle between Gustavo Ariel and Ricardo Rico. But you know what I think that speaks volumes to, Emerson, is just the season that Gustavo has put together back-to-back now. One dominatingly only in a battle with Juan Blaine at Interlagos, the final round last season. Yes, it was a battle at the last race, but he was fantastic. They both were fantastic all season long in Season 3. This time around, I think really nobody could touch Car 1. He didn't win all the races that maybe he could have, but was always consistent, really never had any trouble, and is currently leading far and away at Daytona by 1.3, nearly 1.4 seconds. Matthew Dench all over Jackson Resende to the triangle and into turn number 1.
I was going to say, I wonder how hard Resende's pushing, knowing his teammate out there that's trying to secure a championship.
Well, he can back Matthew Dench up. He can back all these guys up. He can really protect, and we saw this at Interlagos last season. All that choreography that Texaco Racing by TK was able to pull off, and they could do the same thing here tonight.
I wonder how in tune they were with the rest of the competition. If they know Ricardo Rico, really the only competition to Gustavo's potential title tonight, got into an incident early. I wonder if that's been relayed to the rest of the team.
For sure by now, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but are they still gonna fight this hard to keep everyone clear from Gustavo, or would Jackson want to race it himself a little bit?
There's been a lead change in Pro-Am. Ryan Amon taking over in the number 187 for SimCity Racing. Romigna has fallen back to 10th and second in class. Scott Kimbrough is third in class still as he chases these guys down from the 12th position overall. And is coasting. Had the clutch in for a while there on the back straightaway. That's a common tactic these drivers pull. It's something out of NASCAR racing mostly, as here's a side-by-side battle down to the bus stop once more. They sort it out by the time they get there, but putting the clutch into heavy braking zones, it's become more and more popular in iRacing over the last few years. At one point, they were doing it in the Dallara LMP2 car. Now they're doing it in just about every single GT3 car.
How about another thing from NASCAR? Bum drafting.
Yeah, here we go. John Sedlak, I think using some tips potentially from his Firelight.gg teammates as he pushes Air Kinetics down into turn number 1 by the form of Lucas Souza. Now here comes the 69 of Thomas Rayleigh around the outside. Contact there. Sedlak boots the 69 out of the way. And now Zavadil moves into 20s first.
Just how quickly things can change. You're battling for one spot, now you're sent back.
Further back, Zach Deas and Stacy Bertrand. This is a battle for 25th position. Bertrand from NARL Racing with Scott Reister and Love 46. It's been a really rough season for all three of them. I think especially Stacy Bertrand. There's been shining moments for Scott Reister, a shining moment tonight certainly for Love 46, but really nothing to speak of for Stacy. It's been just struggle after struggle after struggle. But tonight, an opportunity maybe to turn things around and try to go for the top 20 this evening in that all-black 52 car. Stacy, a fantastic addition to this series, just unfortunately a really rough season this time around in that Ferrari 488. Maybe next season a change of car in order for car 52.
Maybe, guys. At this point, we're learning these cars a little bit better now. And of course, we have the Daytona 24 that gave a lot of teams a lot of info on how these cars perform tonight. Maybe it's a comfort thing. Maybe the off season could be used to practice other cars, get comfortable in other cars. But now it looks like, as far as rapid changes to the GT3 category, they've started to slim down now as iRacing itself has learned more about how their changes affect the racing product on the sim. And now I think we're getting a very stable kind of balance of power in this GT3 category in terms of handling and power and all that good stuff.
Well, as this season works to a close, only 37 minutes left. Stephen McDonald putting some pressure here on Victor Miranda, a former champion in the Porsche Cup Series here in the North American Racing League. And Matthew Dench still all over Jackson Resende. Dench, a former champion.
A very high caliber field that in this pro category, as it should be. They are pros, but I mean these are some very, very hefty drivers that Gustavo Ariel has had to contend this season.
Look at this shot. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
They'll work down to the bus stop here, the Le Mans chicane at Daytona. That was some bump drafts from Matthew Dench to Jackson Resende. You can really do some bump drafting here on the GT3 cars especially. The bumpers, while they don't line up like stock cars, they line up just barely enough to give little taps down the straightaway.
The way Dench was going there, it looked like maybe a little bit more like slam drafts.
Here's some more on the way. Jeez. I wonder how many incidents they're racking up, Emerson.
Yeah, I wonder that what's like the speed difference threshold that you would take a 4X for doing something like that here. And it's probably got to be not as lean as it would be for stock cars.
And I wonder if they know that too. If they've done testing to figure out kind of what the, allowance is on that. Maybe questions to ask these drivers once things are said and done. Zach Deas, Justin Barrera, they're fighting in the back. This is for, this is deep in the field as they sort that out. Barrera loses the position. This is for 25th spot. Some of the final cars on this lead lap. In fact, the final car currently on this lead lap is Christopher Hill. And John Sedlak has had an issue. We just saw him recently doing some updrafting. He has towed to the pit lane.
Yeah, he had a spin out of the bus stop, and it may have been more of a spin. But he was at least stopped and not faced the correct direction coming out of the bus stop.
Oh, and he had help. This racing with one of the SimCity Racing entries, I believe Ryan Amon. And no, that's the 24 of Dalton Zavadil. And I think Sedlak might have come across. That is tough to say. We'll get some more looks at it. This was in the midfield. Zavadil now 21st for reference. And Dalton was able to pull a big draft here on John Sedlak, go to the inside for the bus stop. Completely fair move there. But then on corner exit, oh, that's really, really tough. Zavadiel had to check up not to cut the corner, and I think John Sedlak came over a little too much, a little too soon, and unfortunately spins himself around and calls it done.
That's such an awkward point.
It really is.
To have an incident like that happen.
We've had a change of position in the top three. Resende has been passed up. Dench has been passed up. Victor Miranda now through to second spot. And that might be some teamwork here to put Miranda now out front, who has saved a bunch of fuel to help pull Resende along, who's been trying to hold Dench back. And oh, a bump there in the middle of the West Horseshoe. And that nearly opened the door for Matthew Dench by turn 6, but it does not just yet. And how about Marcus Saavedra and Juan Blanat back here? It's such a stacked field that it feels like an insult that they are 6th and 7th positions currently. Blanat, of course, fought for this championship last season with Gustavo Ariel. Unfortunately, was on the losing end of that, unfortunately, at least for him. But the Rincon Racing driver putting together a solid race still. P6 is really nothing to scoff at when you consider just how stacked this grid is. I mean, the I rating out front for Gustavo Ariel, 10,637. I never thought I'd be saying that. 10,637. He's nearly got 10,000 on me.
Yeah, he's a little over 5 times my road I rating. That is wild.
Saavedra here pushing Juan Blanat. Juan Blanat's got 8,007. As there's a fight for... Wow, Matthew Dench up the inside of both of these Texaco Racing by TK drivers. The Australian pulls 2 spots in one corner. Now Stephen McDonald wants to go through in the Brabham Esports entry. He pulls over in front of Resende, shuts that door, gets that spot away. We're not done. We're going to have plenty of racing this evening. These guys are going to go at it, I think. You know what? This could be where a lot of these guys get their frustrations out. They've had all of these different dramatic happenings over the course of the season. Now they're able to race, have big draft moments, and set up big passes into some pretty big braking zones. This could be where we get some transgressions out.
Certainly. All these bumps we're seeing getting into the NASCAR spirit here at Daytona. It's getting aggressive out there.
There's a bump from Stephen McDonald to Victor Miranda. That's interesting with a McLaren on a Porsche, but it works out there, and now McDonald drops off and away in the 4th spot. And Resende has fallen back to Juan Blanat as they work through the Le Mans chicane. Love 46 and Ryan Amon. This is for 8th position. Ryan Amon still leading in Pro-Am. He's got Gramigna and Zamperlini close behind. Gramigna for position. Kimbrough further back would be for position as well. Bruno Carmo, by the way, from all the way back on the grid in the 35th position, is now 13th spot. And this is somebody that, while he's not making headlines up front, Emerson, he's got to be in consideration for driver of the day here in about 5 more minutes as our leaders do some more battle. McDonald goes on by, and Jackson Resende's got a problem at turn 1. He's in the barriers.
Looks like he got a little too much into turn 1, and he was dancing under braking, and he ended up there on the far side.
I wonder if that last lap he might have broken or bent something in the suspension. He had some scrapes on the right. Oh, wow.
Contact. Oh!
Wow. I mentioned transgressions, Emerson. That might have been a new one that was formed.
Yeah. And that's a pretty lengthy off season. But this might come back.
So Resende, he shuts the door late there on Juan Blanat for sure. Well,
this is gonna happen with this level of drivers being that aggressive.
Let's watch this from Juan Blanat's point of view, and this will really tell, I think, the rest of the story that we're missing even from the TV cameras. Juan Blanat has this run, comes from way back, and I mean, this is a massive gap he makes up in just a short period of time. I'm not sure how he made that much suddenly, if there's an issue with Resende's car or what, but there was just enough room. Juan took it. I think you could argue that Juan maybe doesn't need to force that yet, but also maybe Jackson Resende came down a bit. It's racing is what it is.
Yeah, that was definitely a very defensive line from Jackson. I don't know about it being late, but definitely Juan Blanat expecting Resende to follow the normal line up the track there.
It was more so he just opened the door and then closed it right back on the nose of the Porsche of Blanat. Like there was just that room, and then came back over. It's racing. These guys are just trying to race. There's no ill intent initially, other than he's trying to beat the guy, right? That's what a lot of these come down to. And I know sometimes we go straight for the throat. We are honest about these incidents, but believe me, that's all it boils down to. These guys don't have the ill intent, the malintent of trying to crash or anything like that. They just want to beat the guy they're racing. That's all it is. And they do so rather aggressively. And sometimes we see moves like that, or just coming together like that sometimes, where drivers run out of racing room, they meet in the middle, and eventually somebody is going to crash, potentially both of them. This is deep in the top 20. Carlos Barreto, the Pro-Am entry from Texaco Racing by TK, opening the door here for David Schwartz. And Schwartz will go on through. That's for 16th.
Schwartz has been on a little bit of a run through the field as well.
22nd to 16th so far.
Yeah, he was back in the 20s. Actually had a little bit of contact early on, maybe lap 2 with Eric Sarapoli, and Sarapoli went skidding across the pit entry into that inside wall.
This is Bruno DeCarmo with Scott Kimbrough. And Gustavo Ariel will show his hand early. He's down the pit lane in car 1. Bruno DeCarmo will come to join him. And boy, are a lot of cars doing that.
Yeah, they are packing up here. My goodness, I think it was Fabio Zamperlini who got in a little hot and almost overcooked into the back of a number McLaren.
Waiting on Gustavo Ariel to leave the pit lane first, and then we'll catch up with everything else. Our champion to be, potentially, with a 14-point gap over Ricardo Rico, who is 29th position. And here soon, I think we're going to be able to just straight up call it, unless he gets crashed. Gustavo Ariel will almost definitely be the champion. 23.23 seconds in the box, and he will get back out on track.
What caught me there, Andrew, the exhaust flames.
Yeah, that was
throttled
cool.
up, waiting for to be released from the box. Oh, man.
Juan Blanat, 22.2 seconds. Ricardo Rico, he actually comes on by some of these guys, as we saw a lot of pit stops there, but his pit stop came 11 laps ago. He has still got to pit one more time. Zamperlini, Love 46, Amon, McDaniel, Colon, Del Carmo, they all pitted. As Miguel Colon goes on by Hunter McDaniel there. Bruno Del Carmo now will do battle 3 wide out of the International Horseshoe. There's not room for that, guys. And they sort it out.
Practice the give and take there. Looking back at the Porsche there.
Bruno Del Carmo had a shot. Up front, Victor Miranda going to come into the pit lane along with Matthew Dench, and Miranda, it looks like, was able to push into the pits just enough to take that lead away. Dench will now pit from second, technically. There's McDonald into his box, a little bit deep. Saavedra is in. Everybody coming in.
Now, this is the lap I expected more people to come in. We kind of saw it in the pro race. Motor drivers went the later half of the halfway point. We still have yet to technically hit the halfway point on the 50-minute timer.
Well, in 3, 2, 1 seconds, there we go, halfway in this race. McDonald, a great pit stop. He comes out alongside Matthew Dench. Marco Saavedra will exit third. Miranda, a long time in the box. He is still waiting on service. Could he have had a penalty potentially the way he forced it in? Yeah. The way he beat Matthew Dench into the pits, I think he picked himself up a speeding penalty, and that is one more out of the way from Texaco Racing by TK. Also, Gustavo Ariel is now third spot behind Stephen McDonald and Matthew Dench.
Well, great strategy to get the track position for these two. Do they have the fuel now to hold? And that was going to be my question. Going that early, is the fuel going to last? We saw, drivers sputtering at the end of the amateur race, and even sputtering on the pit lane in the amateur race.
Time will tell. That's the best I got for you currently, is time will tell. As we have inside of half of the race left to go. Stephen McDonald, Matthew Dench leading the way currently. And this could really start to influence our driver of the day vote, Emerson. We've got to start to consider really who is deserving. Gustavo Ariel dominated that first half of the race after pit stops. He is now third, but within draft range of these two. I think he certainly is really top of the list. Matthew Dench is in that conversation right now, I'd say. He's been fantastic in some of these battles. I think even Stephen McDonald and Bruno DeCarmo. I don't think you can skip the 66 car. The run he's had from 35th now to 11th spot, and he'll even pick one more up when Ricardo Rico finally pits. I think that is a potential. You could even throw in Fabio Zamperlini and Love 46. Given the seasons they've had, they are running 8th and 9th.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all on board, especially. I mean, that is a crazy run for someone like Bruno DeCarmo to rocket his way through the field. And not to say that, I don't expect that from him, but in the time he did it was absolutely insane.
And, McDonald having some connection issues here. And he might be done.
I was just about to mention him as well. He went 10th to 2nd.
Wow.
But
and that might narrow our choices quite a bit, Emmer. That might do a lot of the work for us. Which really leaves us with Matthew Dench, Gustavo Ariel. I think Fabio Zamperlini, Love 46, and Bruno DeCarmo. I think those are really your best options, as DeCarmo now has broken into the top 10 and will still get one more spot when Ricardo Rico eventually has to pit. So that's 9th, at least, for DeCarmo, if not a few more positions ahead, as he's only 2.2 seconds back of Ryan Amon. Granted, he's got Hunter McDaniel all over his rear wing. Well, Emerson, I'm going to put you on the spot. We've had some time to consider, talk about it. And I'm sure the chat might start to light up as, Ryan Amon, driver of the day. Well, unfortunately, we don't do driver of the day for Pro-Am. It's just for Pro. So let's start to consider this, Emerson. Let's start to figure this out. Who are your two nominations as we see this battle for Saavedra and Blanat?
Man, I mean, I know we just said we wouldn't give it for Pro-Am. Scott Kimbrough had a huge jump there, but I guess I'd have to give it to Bruno DeCarmo, because a crazy run to the field to gain 25 spots now, with the unfortunate situation there for Stephen McDonald. And Juan Blanat has had a good run today to get himself up there to that 4th position.
Interesting that you leave the two that are leading this race for me. I have to go Matthew Dench and Gustavo Ariel. Matthew Dench has had another abysmal season in a lot of ways. Started things off in that massive lap 1 incident way back at Road America. And now back at a Porsche, it looks like car 83 has some steam behind him. And I don't know how you can go against Gustavo Ariel right now. Driver of the season, can we do that? I guess that's the championship honors already. But Gustavo Ariel, he's an option. Matthew Dench, an option in car 83. Bruno DeCarmo will be an option. And Juan Blanat will be the 4th and final option in our driver of the day poll that is going up in YouTube momentarily. As soon as our social media up, Emerson himself is able to do it. And there you go. In YouTube, it is up. Solid option. I think Juan Blanat maybe is a little interesting to me. I'm kind of intrigued by that one, Emerson. Otherwise, I think 3 just absolutely perfect options for this driver of the day vote between Matthew Dench, Gustavo Ariel, and Bruno De Carmo. And now you see Gustavo playing the game, right? Saving fuel into the braking zones, lifting, coasting, and man, for a long time was burning fuel out the exhaust pipes there.
Yeah, absolutely. Continue on here. There's an overtake there into turn 1. That's Love 46 into 6th. And I guess I should have considered her having a great run today, too.
Yep, that's what I mentioned between these two. The seasons they've had to run 6th and 7th currently, certainly worthy of driver of the day mentions. I think it's tough to put them in the poll just because we've seen really great races from so many drivers tonight, but Love 46, Fabio Zamperlini, when you guys go back and watch this, just know you were in consideration. You guys have had fantastic nights so far, and hopefully that continues up for another 19 minutes. I really am impressed with these two, specifically in this field. We know Bruno De Carmo's good, right? We know he can drive through 25 cars and make up those spots. We know Matthew Dench, Gustavo Ariel, Marcos Saavedra, Juan Blanat, Ricardo Rico. We know they could run top 5. But when Ricardo Rico pits, Love 46 and Fabio Zamperlini will be racing for that 5th position. Simply fantastic. Great efforts from both of these drivers. And sure, they might have extra practice from Daytona happening just a few weeks ago, but really, does that matter at all? No, I don't think so. They've been...
Everyone did.
amazing. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's been great runs for sure. I was a little surprised, to say the least, to see Zamperlini struggle the way he has this season. And this has been a good little blip run for him here. As we got the McLaren going at it there. That's Gustavo Ariel getting passed by, well, trying to, I guess, go around Matthew Dench.
He had him at the line, Gustavo did, nosed ahead for the lead on that lap, and now dives to the inside here for the West, or so the International Horseshoe, rather. Up the inside of the Australian and Matthew Dench as Bruno De Carmo, his teammate, goes up to purple lap time there, and Gustavo covers up that move potentially back from Matthew Dench. Does he have anything for the West Horseshoe?
I think he's going to stay close here, maybe try to set himself up for a great exit out of turn 6. Because we may see some some fighting down here in the back straightaway chicane here, the Le Mans chicane.
Juan Blanat, meanwhile, with Marcos Saavedra. Here's a look on board there out of turn 6. And back up onto the oval. Bruno De Carmo admits to this fight with Hunter McDaniel, Fabio Zamperlini behind him. I think Fabio had to slow down that lap. Love 46 now officially back, well, into the top 5 as Ricardo Rico had to pit that time. And Ricardo is now in the 23rd position.
Unfortunate opening laps for Ricardo Rico. Again, it was a tall ask to top Gustavo Ariel, who is currently leading right now. But again, it was a slim chance he had to maybe take the title away from him, and very early on, it was pretty much zero.
It's to the point right now, Emerson, where even if Gustavo stopped now, Ricardo Rico, as he runs, would not win the championship.
He would need like 2 more spots if Gustavo stopped.
I think he needs closer to 5 or 10, honestly.
Yeah.
Considering how many cars left running, the extra points that Gustavo has, drop weeks, he would need a lot. As Marcos Saavedra seems to have had a problem, he's into the pit lane, and he has towed. Well, there's a spot.
I was watching Blanat and Saavedra go at it. There was bumping going on into the bus stop.
We've seen Blanat in more than one incident tonight in turn 1, and wow. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. There was some bumping.
Well,
a big bump to the inside wall.
Yeah, this is a lot to look back at. We'll have to try and fine-tune this replay. Sometimes things lag behind. Well, let's find this in turn 1. Saavedra and Blanat. This is really massive. Here we go. A good look at it this time. Now, what happens between these two? I think Juan Blanat is just going to end up coming up here and hitting. Yeah, just turn Saavedra.
Wow. And that's a weird spot. I mean, It looked like, Blanat was just trying to give him a bump, but they were approaching the braking zone there. Blanat definitely probably should have lifted as they were approaching that braking zone.
Here's the onboard view. And Savager just gets caught up. And it just picks him up off the ground. It just picks the rear wheels up off the ground like Gen 4 drafting in NASCAR.
Yeah.
And, wow, that is a huge, huge impact. Also, I want to go back to somebody who had a big-time problem on lap 1. Got shunted into the tire barriers in the West Horseshoe.
Yeah.
We never got a great replay of it. Miguel Colon has just tried to recover this entire race. Is currently in the 26th spot. The second-place driver in the standings coming into tonight in Pro-Am. And just a really, really rough effort for him. He's likely going to lose that second place to David Schwartz. Maybe third to Mitchell Johnson. We'll see. Miguel Colon, he has been sensational in that Pro-Am category all season, and I think if he were able to string together 8 of his best performances with no bad luck, absolutely he could be a top 10 driver even in Pro.
100%. Miguel Colon, he's had that pace all season to contend with pro drivers. Justin Beretta has a problem there out of the International Horseshoe.
A lot going on suddenly as we break inside of 15 minutes to go. And this was a side-by-side battle with one of the M Squad Porsches.
Nighttime falls. And
Whoa!
Whoa!
And Barrera goes across the racetrack. Please tell me he didn't hit anybody. Yes, okay. Whoa, what in the... Wow. He nearly got that car back, I think it was. That was the 012 of Zach Deas he was racing with. And who does Barrera nearly take out? It's that black Porsche. It wasn't Deas he nearly hit. Wow, I think that was that Victor Miranda maybe?
Yeah, right there. That would make sense. Unfortunately, Andrew, that situation coming through VS's happens a lot on the sim. I've seen where drivers end up on the other side of the racetrack, and he might have gotten himself disqualified for that. But it's very hard to stop these cars on that grass. That's probably the best way to handle the situation. So get yourself to the far side of the racetrack and get yourself into an access lane as quickly as possible.
I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised that Daytona has not put up more Armco barriers in between each end of this road course to prevent things like that.
It's so dangerous.
I'm very surprised that we don't see more of that. At least tire barriers, temporary tire barriers down there to at least slow a car and make it more predictable, more, I guess, just easier to miss a car that comes across the racetrack like that. It is dangerous. A head-on impact would be catastrophic. 11 and a half minutes to go. How about our partners this season in the North American Racing League? We've had so much action tonight, it's been difficult to circle back around to them, but VRS, Virtual Racing School, a service I subscribe to monthly myself to make sure I'm up to date with all of the latest setups and data packs that come out of that organization. And Maradness as well, M Squad. We talk about M Squad a lot, but what are they? They're a massive and always growing iRacing community, both in their Discord channels, their server, but also in their team that just annihilates these esports competitions in the best of ways. They're always so strong and put on great shows. And of course, well, they have gloves as well. That's pretty darn cool. And JS Consulting, putting together the back end, the website work here at the North American Racing League. 10 and a half minutes to go. We're watching a fight here for 4th. Bruno Del Carmo, who started 35th, and Hunter McDaniel, who had a big issue early, went off track. Might have been turned around, I think. Yeah, got turned around by Juan Blanat in turn 1. And is now in the top 5 racing for 4th. Big time races for these two. And you could...
Great drives.
I think you could maybe remove a driver off of... if we could put 5 drivers on there, I think Hunter McDaniel has earned his spot back on the Driver of the Day vote.
That top 6 might have to just all get votes.
Yeah.
And maybe even 7 if you count St. Perlini as well. I mean, this has been great runs. It's hard to narrow it down to 4.
Opening the door maybe is Del Carmo. He will stay ahead of McDaniel. Also worth mentioning, we've had a kind of a low-key battle happening in this Pro-Am lead. Ryan Amon has gone back and forth with Scott Kimbrough since the pit stops. And now inside of 10 minutes to go, Amon has picked up the drafted Love 46. It is driving away from Kimbrough, who is going to drive away with the championship. I think Kimbrough just really couldn't be bothered right now. He's just trying to wrap this up for himself. You know, he doesn't want to fight too much. He doesn't want to get himself in a bad spot. He's just here to wrap up the title and hopefully for him, I'm sure, not move up to pro. I don't think he wants to race these guys, but you know what? He would hold his own. He would be a worthy pro competitor if he were to realign these divisions.
Well, he'd be in 7th in the pro category right now. I mean, that's very remarkable. Yeah.
8th, I guess, if Amon was to go up, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too, yeah.
Martin Gomigna also, meanwhile, a fantastic driver this season. I don't know where this guy came from this season around, but has been fantastic. Maybe could have been better at times, could have had better luck, I'm sure. Martin Gomigna, I think, if he's able to stay in Pro-Am, is a championship lock next season. Otherwise, likely right around this position overall next season, ends up being kind of top 10 in pro.
Yeah, certainly. Especially recently, Gomigna has lit up in the Pro-Am category, has really strung together some nice runs. This battle continues between Hunter McDaniel and Bruno DeCarmo. When I first saw McDaniel duking it out with DeCarmo, I thought McDaniel was lapped. But then I realized it was just a spin. He never had to tow. So he waited for the whole field to pass him. He got behind Bruno DeCarmo, and they both went through their way through the field.
Well, he led practice, Emerson, and at this point, I mean, he's within 17 seconds of the race leader, Gustavo Ariel. I mean, a fantastic drive here out of Hunter McDaniel. Both of these guys coming from the back today at one point or another, in one way or another. DeCarmo starting back there in 35th, McDaniel being 36th after the first corner, and Juan Blanat has run out of steam. He has just towed out of the top 3.
Oh my goodness. And he's disconnected. He's done.
He's gone. That's it for the season for Rincon Racing and Juan Blanat. This was the issue down the back straightaway. And I think it's just after the bus stop, maybe even an issue in the Le Mans chicane here for Juan Blanat. Looks all tidy there.
Is that incident points?
It looks like it.
Wow.
The way he pulls down to the inside and just comes to a stop, it looks like it.
It's hard to avoid there, Andrew. Especially with the way the chicane is laid out now. There used to be sausage curbs there that would kind of not allow you to kind of cut the chicane that much, but it's so inviting with how flat the curbing is. To run over that curbing, you get a little grass, and that's 1X. And they build up. It is very enticing to run wide on the exit of the chicane. I think that caught out Juan Blanat.
Just let it be known, there aren't many things I hate about sim racing. One of the few things I do hate about sim racing, Emerson, is that drivers often feel compelled when they feel like they have no chance to just pull off the racetrack, stop, and quit. You know, you're in a race, you're in a season for this long, and you're going to cut your race short by 7 minutes. What are you saving at that point? It's confusing to me. This is in no way a personal thing against Juan Blanat. It's a sim racing mentality, I feel like, and it's because there is that option, right? If you're racing in real life, oh my goodness, not Fabio.
No.
But as we pull up this replay, if you're racing in real life, there is not that option to just bail out of the car at 150 miles per hour at Daytona.
Sponsorship obligations, too.
Yeah, let alone all of that, yeah.
Coming down the pit
not
lane.
only can you not just bail out of the car, but also, yes, that you do have obligations, as this is the look at it for Fabio Zamperlini into the outside wall. Season ending for him.
Left front suspension broke.
But it is just...
Tough.
It is just a very interesting sim racing thing. We've got 5 minutes to go in the season, Emerson. Let's relish in the moment. Gustavo Ariel, Matthew Dench, are they going to fight this out?
I wonder how hard, you know, I mean, I think even at this point, if Gustavo, fights it hard and ends up in an incident, he should be fine for the title. But I wonder how hard Gustavo fights. Does he think big picture? Does how badly does he want to win? I think, with a 10,600 I rating or whatever, he's got that to kind of flex. Ricardo Rico, how about him?
16th.
This is 16th after Juan Blanat's disconnect. Huge recovery.
I don't know that Gustavo can drop far enough to give Rico enough points, but Ricardo Rico at least driving nearly back into the top 15, certainly back into the top half of the field. Props here to Ricardo Rico staying in it, and this is the opposite of what I was talking about. Staying in this race, even though, yeah, he was taken out of the championship very, very early, granted by his own mistake, but staying in it, not relenting, not giving up, and just continuing to keep racing, and just in case something happens, but also just for the pride and satisfaction of finishing this race out, finishing the season out. I applaud Ricardo Rico and anybody else in this race who does that.
We saw this now in all 3 categories tonight, Andrew. The second place driver in points with a chance to win the title. Unfortunately, in all 3 divisions, something happened. John Kroom, Miguel Colon, and Ricardo Rico. But all 3 of them stayed to finish the race, save the 1 lap for John Kroom, but he ran into the white.
Yeah, he ran until he was officially out, and at that point, I understand emotions. If you are second, that's the one time I think I give you that credit. Here is Ryan Amon, Love 46, battling for 5th as Hunter McDaniel and Bruno DeCarmo stay nose to tail here. It's a matter of time until moves are made, though. Eventually, you've got to poke out and try and make something happen. I think Hunter McDaniel, these guys, they're waiting, right?
There's no, I guess, anything to entice you to make this overtake now. Why not just sit behind and wait to the last lap? If you have this opportunity over and over and over again, lap after lap, why, put yourself at risk?
Matthew Dench with a run. He goes to the inside, and it's a slowdown for Gustavo Ariel. That's going to shake things up.
Oh,
Maybe not a
man.
slowdown, actually. Who knows?
Well, if it is...
What if Gustavo's short on fuel?
Oh...
Gustavo only took 21.1 seconds in the box. Or sorry, 23.2, or disregard that. Dench took 21.1 in the box, but still, maybe Gustavo is that close on fuel right now that he wanted to switch that up and allow himself to save. As here's Bruno DeCarmo and Hunter McDaniel nose to tail onto the front stretch.
You know what, Andrew? Everyone was sputtering at the end of that amateur race. There may be some substance to saving fuel at this point. You've seen Ryan Amon, who's had plenty of opportunities to try to make an overtake in Love 46. While it wouldn't help at all for him in the class category, could get himself a top 5 overall. He sat behind Love 46. Hunter McDaniel has just sat behind Bruno DeCarmo. There might be some substance to saving fuel right now.
Well, let's see what Gustavo does here. Matthew Dench checks up real early there for turn 6. He gets back on power, kind of powers away a little bit. That's actually going to help Gustavo a bunch. I know it checks him up in turn 6, but there is now more gap for him to use here to get up to Matthew Dench. And at any point, he could kind of throttle back and kind of maintain the gap. He does get a lot closer, it looks like, but now he's throttling back. And no clutch in. I don't think he's really worrying about that. You know what? He was probably sitting back. He wants Matthew to lead to this white flag. He's going to set him up out of NASCAR Turn 4, I think, for this draft.
And absolutely, if you're able to keep yourself at this range, you have that opportunity to do so.
Maybe trying to test a move here out of NASCAR Turn 4. But it's the white flag on the season, brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams at Daytona International Speedway. And down to turn 1, it's all Matthew Dench and Gustavo Ariel, who is just 1 lap away from a back-to-back set of championships in NARL GT3 competition. Across the line here, Bruno DeCarmo, Hunter McDaniel, third and fourth positions. Love 46, Ryan Amon battling for 5th and 6th.
Everyone's in little couplets here to kind of close this deal out. We're going to have a bunch of battles in line you can watch.
Call them tandems.
Yeah.
The on board from Matthew Dench, looking back at Gustavo Ariel. I think Gustavo wants that spot, but he's got to pace himself. You got to wait until after the Le Mans chicane.
He is pushing that braking zone very aggressively into turn 6. But he is there. He has done his job. He's given himself on the chance. Onto the oval. Well, out of NASCAR 1 for the final time.
Does he want to try and make a move into the bus stop and try and power away? No. The answer is definitely no. Gustavo Ariel is going to set up for the exit of the bus stop here and try to get a run on Matthew Dench, and the Aussie is going to have to try and defend it. Out of the Le Mans chicane for the final time tonight, and the run to the checkers for the final time all season. Gustavo, a misstep that time out of the Le Mans chicane. Matthew Dench swerving maybe to his own detriment. It's a battle for the race win, but Car 1 is going to wrap up this championship no matter what. He's going to try to win this one last battle on the racetrack. Dench all the way down, defending the run to the checkers here, and Gustavo wins at Daytona and wins the Season 4 title.
What a brilliant setup, a brilliant move, and great racing. And here we go for the final spot on the podium.
McDaniel.
McDaniel will go from last to third on that opening lap. DeCarmo last to fourth. It's a top 5 for Love 46, and Ryan Amon wins in the Pro-Am category. That's Kimbrough, the title holder.
Scott Kimbrough takes home the championship in Pro-Am. Gustavo Ariel, Scott Kimbrough, that is good company atop the season scoring pylons. Brent Cook across the line just behind Thomas Rayleigh. Will Coffey, Victor Miranda, the drag race here. Who is it going to be to the line? Victor Miranda over Will Coffey for 15th on the racetrack. And Mitchell Johnson just over Scott Reister. Actually changed that. Reister over Johnson, and Reister is going to take the oval, it looks like. Well-deserved after the last few weeks he's had. Deus, Bertrand, Colon to the line, and Miguel Colon second place. I think he already knew that defeat was on the way for the championship, but has to swallow it now officially. And Christopher Hill to the line wraps up this season of racing in the North American Racing League, Emerson. Congratulations, Gustavo Ariel and Scott Kimbrough. There was absolutely nothing that anybody who entered tonight in second place could have done at any point in time. That was it. If you entered tonight in second place, boy, was it a bad day to be second spot in the championship. It was a great day to be first. No upsets. How about that?
All of which happened very early in the race, but we still had great racing all throughout to supplement maybe the missing title battle.
Let's take a look at our unofficial race results from Daytona International Speedway for the pros. By 38 1/1000ths of a second, Gustavo Ariel hangs on for victory at Daytona International Speedway. Matthew Dench goes P2, Hunter McDaniel third, just barely. In fact, nearly an identical gap, but it's 28 1/1000ths of a second there over Bruno DeCarmo for the third spot. Love 46, a stellar performance taking a top 5. I think Love 46 should have been our vote over there over Juan Blanat, given what happened, but hey, that is hindsight for you. Ryan Amon wins in Pro-Am competition, and look at that, 4 drivers from Pro-Am in the top 10. Ryan Amon, Scott Kimbrough, Martin Grimigna, and Bobby Flacken. Dalton Zavriel grabs an overall top 10 tonight as Scott Kimbrough takes the Pro-Am championship.
I mean, an absolutely stellar race. Put on by especially the class in the Pro-Am field, but 11th place it is Lucas Souza, who in that 31 machine. Thomas Rayleigh finishes 12th. Brent Cook 13th. Ricardo Rico has a great recovery drive to 14th. Victor Miranda unfortunately ends up 15th though. Nabs Will Coffey at the line, who finishes 16th. Scott Reister 17th. Mitchell Johnson 18th. Fabio Zamperlini, who was running in the top 10 there towards the end, will finish 19th, and Pierre Thompson rounds out the top 20.
21st is Zach Deus in car 012. Stacy Bertrand just behind at 22nd and just ahead of Miguel Colon. Diego Eda goes 24th, Christopher Hill 25th, and that's the end of your lead lap competitors, ahead of guys like Martin Crisp and David Schwartz, 1 lap down, Juan Blanat. The early exit 6 laps prior to the checkers. Justin Barrera and Marcos Saavedra early exits as well. Did we catch the issue for Marcos Saavedra? I don't think we did. that one may have flown under the radar. I can't think of when he would have had an issue. But either way, the 31st position, it's Carlos Barreto for Texaco Racing by TK. Stephen McDonald, 32nd. Jackson Resende, 33rd. Eric Staropoli, John Sedlak, and Giuliano Romagnolo, the remainder of the field. Once again, Gustavo Ariel going to join the broadcast booth, a race winner and once again a champion. Gustavo, there was no beating car number 1. You are the driver of the day. You are the race winner. You are the champion. Accolades of many. How do you sum this up?
I'm very happy because this week I started driving the McLaren in Bathurst for the 12 hours, so we are doing good there, and I think, well, McLaren have a great straight line speed. We saw in Spa, we saw Interlagos, so I tried to come with the McLaren in the middle of the Porsche, so I think it's going well, but my problem at the beginning, I had to save 10 liters more because the Porsche is like fueling 44, I think, and McLaren is fueling like 55, so it was a challenge, but I lose like 4 seconds on the pit stop, and I managed to keep on the 1 second on the map. So at the end was tough because you never know if we're gonna break like before the buzz stop, if let me go on the last lap. So yeah, I did a very good strategy to keep behind him, and I passed on the finish line. So I'm very happy to win the last race of the season. Very good season for me. I think the worst result was before maybe. So yeah, good one. I'm very happy of my team. Bruno did an amazing recovery race, so coming from last. So yeah, I'm very happy with another championship. It's my second season here. I'm second championship. Having nothing to complain. So yeah, I want to say thank you to Scott. Thank you to all the Pit Stop TV guys, the North American Racing League guys. So yeah, thank you so much. And I want to say another thank you to my team, Texaco Racing by Tony Canan, the sponsorships, P8 Seguros, Logitech, HB, AT Lubrificantes, Toyota Gazoo Racing Brasil. Yeah, I'm very happy, and let's have a good time now with another title and do better on the 12 hours of Bathurst. So thank you so much.
Well, Gustavo, you answered just about every question I had lined up for you. So let's talk about car choice. Do you think car choice in these last few weeks played any bit into the championship? I mean, Ricardo Rico, he seemed like he always wanted to run that Porsche, but you guys at Texaco Racing by TK, you moved around a lot more, and it seems like you settled on this McLaren here late in the season.
Yeah, it's my first race with the McLaren, so it's really tough because before this Bathurst week I didn't drive the McLaren for 2 years. So yeah, I think the car choices, it's very important. Of course, you don't want to drive the car like 2-3 tenths off, but I think the consistency, it's even more important because like Spa, I finished 12 seconds behind. Suzuka, I finished 12 seconds too, and finished P2, P3, so the consistency was there. I managed to do good qualifying laps and started on the top 5 maximum. So yeah, I think of course the car choice is important, but do a good strategy, saving fuel when you need to save. But yeah, I was there to catch my points. So I think that's the secret of this championship. Stay on the top 5 in every race. Don't need to win in every race, so you don't need to do crazy things to stay on front. So yeah, I think that's the secret. Of course, the car choice is very important because you need to drive the good car for your driving style, but I think the consistency is the key.
Maybe the most consistent drive we've ever seen over the course of a season. And Gustavo, you are champion once again. Congratulations, and hopefully we're talking to you next week in that bonus race at Road Atlanta. But either way, you are the champion, one more season strong. We'll see you in season 5 sometime later this year.
Thank you guys, and see you soon. Bye bye, and have a good time. You.
Gustavo with another championship under the belt. But how about Matthew Dench, who goes P2 in that epic battle with him this evening?
And Matthew, you had a great race there with Gustavo Ariel coming up one spot short, but you take the track position on the pit cycle. How did that work out for you, and would you have done anything different?
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. We got to save quite a lot of fuel early on. I think if we were going to do anything different, we would have went for the pass into P2 really early. And had we done that, we probably could have caught Gustavo before the pit stop, and then we could have had like a 2 or 3 second gap after that pit cycle, and that might have been enough to get us the top step.
Absolutely. Tonight, the Porsche made a large resurgence tonight. What was your criteria when looking at cars for tonight's season finale?
I only tested the Porsche. I knew it was fast here. We just went with that. I knew McLaren was going to be pretty good as well, but yeah, it's a little bit faster on the top end, as we saw at the end there.
There at the end, absolutely. And then Matthew, just if you want to kind of put a bow tie on your season, I know it's not what you wanted, but a pretty decent season overall. Well, but what do you say?
The season started out really rough for us. In Road America, we qualified quite well. Definitely had pace to run at the front, but it was that huge wreck, and the season sort of went up and down from there. And we had a few good ones, a few bad ones, but it's always good to finish on a really good one.
Well, it is second place tonight here at Daytona for you, Matthew. A great race, ran 7 laps, led, and went toe-to-toe with the champion this season here in the pro category. So not too shabby whatsoever. Congratulations then on the second place finish, Matthew, and best luck to you next season.
Yeah, thank you. We'll definitely see you all next time.
Matthew Dunch goes P2 this evening, 7 laps led. To his own credit, somewhere back behind these guys, Scott Kimbrough goes 7th place this evening and wraps up a season championship. And Scott Kimbrough, did you ever think that your name would be listed as a champion in the North American Racing League?
Good evening. No, not after the first few seasons went for me. I was pretty unlucky those first few seasons, so I was happy that I had a good run of good fortune this season, and it worked out well.
I know we've seen heartbreak after heartbreak for car 117. I've always loved these paint schemes you had, though. I love the light blue, I love the purple, the kind of pink there, the black, the white. It always looks good, and finally it looks good in at least some sort of victory lane. You had a few wins this season. You have the championship, more importantly, that wraps up tonight. This is a big step, and I think likely to your probably distaste, you're going up to that pro category at some point soon, if not beginning next season in Season 5.
Yes, I can't wait to be humbled at the back of the of the field. Yeah, I mean, the league, obviously there's tremendous guys racing in the league. It's fantastic to be able to race against them, with them, behind them. So yeah, look forward to learning and growing and hopefully getting a little bit faster along the way.
But how about the consistency this season? You and Gustavo Ariel both, in your own regards, your own rights, have just been so uber consistent, always putting points in the competition, even when you were bested by 1 or 2, even 3 drivers in Pro-Am competition. You always seem to pick up more and more points than the guys you needed to. How do you do that week after week?
Well, after had pretty good run the first couple races of the season. After that, I just, we always want to win. Everybody's always trying to win, but at the end of the day, if I needed to let a position go or be a little bit more careful, I started thinking about the big picture probably by like the 3rd race or so, to just try to be 99.9% instead of 101% at taking chances. So it worked out all right.
Well, Scott Kimbrough is a champion in the North American Racing League. That's the most important thing of it all. Empire Racing and Car 117 on top of the series. Scott, congratulations once again. We'll see you in Season 5.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for all the broadcast stuff. Andrew, congratulations on your new baby at home. Thank you to Scott John and Fabio, who do pretty much all the work to take care of this league and keep it running top notch. So thanks to them, and thanks to everyone on the Empire team. It's great and exciting to win, but it wouldn't be as much fun if I didn't get to share it with them. So thanks to all of them, and thanks to you. See you next season.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Scott. Maybe we need to get a onesie with Scott Kimbrough on it for the little one here. But once again, thank you, buddy, and congratulations.
Thank you. Have a good night.
He goes second place though on the racetrack, though, Emerson, to one guy. That's Ryan Amon in car 187 from SimCity Racing. That McLaren, rather, was on rails all night long. He wins in class, and here he is.
And it is Ryan Amon taking the Pro-Am class victory this evening, finishing 6th overall. It was a great race for you, Ryan. Tell us a little bit more about it.
I was just trying not to crash in the bus stop. That was my number one goal. McLaren's a little hard to handle in the coming out of the bus stop, so that's all I did. Luckily, the car had some pace, and I had some good draft partners throughout the race to keep me up front, stayed out of trouble. So I'll take it.
Well, you mentioned the McLaren a little hard to handle there out of the bus stop. This race, we saw a huge resurgence of Porsches. Why, or what was your thought process on deciding on a car for tonight's race?
I was actually switching up until the last minute. I had actually planned on driving the Ferrari, and then I made a last-minute decision to switch to the McLaren. I had actually practiced the most in Mercedes, and I guess that decision paid off, that last-minute decision. So.
It seemed like, and then there, I mean, I know it wasn't going to affect how you're standing in the category, but you were right there, right behind 5th place, left 46 there for a good chunk of the end. Could you have gone for it or gone about it a little differently, or what was going on there?
Well, at that point, I mean, I was tucked in behind her most of the race, trying to save fuel so I could get to the end. And I was taking it easy out of the bus stop. So one, I didn't have a run on that last lap to get around her. And two, at that point, I knew I was leading the division, and I just wanted to bring the car home without a scratch on it. So I didn't want to ruin a good thing at that point. So I was fine with it.
Well, a good thing indeed, Ryan, as you bring it home 6th overall, but more importantly, the Pro-Am class winner tonight here at Daytona. Congratulations on a great race put together and ran. And yeah, best luck to you if you're running with us next season.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the broadcast. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
Ryan finishes first place this evening in class, 6th on the racetrack. Certainly a fantastic effort there from everybody at SimCity Racing, and really everybody in this field, Emerson. Another classic of a season wrapped up. Gustavo Ariel, our driver of the day, our champion, our race winner. Just a good day of racing, a good way to wrap up this season.
Absolutely. Phenomenal racing all through the running order. Daytona, it proved to be, a typical race at Daytona, especially when the lights come on at night. It just seems like the action kind of rises up to another level. There was chaos everywhere, and then there was battles everywhere. It was great racing. Unfortunately, as far as the championship battles go, we were kind of we had all of our championship battles, even few and far between, kind of taken away from us today. But it was great racing nonetheless, and very deserving champions, because they put together a great body of work to make it that hard to try to take a title here tonight at Daytona. And so again, to Gustavo Ariel, Scott Kimbrough, and Matthew O'Leary, congratulations on the championships this evening. It was a very fun season to cover, and a very, very well-deserved championship for all.
We opened things up way back at Road America. VIR Round 2 with the brand new GT3 regulations and car updates. Canada, Brazil, Japan, Spa, England, they all flew by. Daytona tonight, we wrap things up. And those are your champions, Gustavo Ariel, Scott Kimbrough, and Matthew O'Leary. It's always tough for us to wrap up these seasons, always tough for me to say goodbye to a season just like that. It's never easy, but we can start by saying thank you to our partners here with the series, VRS, Virtual Racing School, Moradness, and JS Consulting, and our partners here at the channel, Whiplash Media SimCams, SimRepMarket.com, and Short Track Weekly. We've got several upcoming broadcasts here on Pit Stop TV. We are never done here on the channel. Saturday night, we've got short track racing from Hickory Motor Speedway in nearby Newton, North Carolina. At least nearby to me, and I'm sure some more drivers and fans here of the North American Racing League. We talked about that in the past, but regardless, Hickory Motor Speedway, February the 11th, this Saturday, we've got the Martin PC Late Model Showdown at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tyler Payne and company running that show. Should be a lot of fun. And Monday evening, we've got Payne Built Legends action from Larry King Law's Langley Speedway in Hampton, Virginia. That's February 13th. We're off from HFL Legends action on Valentine's Day. A big shout out to them for that. But then on Thursday evening, we've got Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta for the bonus race with this North American Racing League in Emerson. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see every race winner from this season go after it on a really, really spectacular racetrack.
Absolutely. It's one of America's, I think, best road circuits. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, a very flowing, very fun track. And again, definitely felt it deserved a spot in the schedule, but you know what? It gets a guest appearance here at the end of the season. Can't wait to see. Again, we're going to bring some high caliber drivers to Road Atlanta, and we're going to get a great event then next Thursday night.
Thank you so much to everybody tuning in this season. It has been honestly historic season for the North American Racing League. Once again, breaking historic numbers out of the gate. You guys have tuned in every single week in droves, and we always appreciate the effort from you viewers, as well as our partners with the series, as well as our drivers and teams, and all of the admins with the North American Racing League. You viewers make all of this possible. For the final time this season, myself, Andrew Cardinale, Mike, with Emerson Arden alongside. It has been a pleasure as always. We'll be seeing all of you next season for the North American Racing League. But first up, the bonus race next week at Road Atlanta. You do not want to miss it.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS.